It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Tuesday, May 7th, the day a lot of folks in Minnesota are waking up and going, holy crap, we have the best team in the NBA right now. And you know what? We do.
It's not even close. It doesn't feel like. So I've just got like one foot on the bandwagon. I'm not going to be insincere and go Wolves. I mean, but yeah, I'd love to see them bring this thing home. So all right, you've got me, Steve. I'm back in. I'm watching some Timberwolves basketball. And about, I don't know, somewhere halfway through the second quarter.
At latest.
I was just embarrassed for the Nuggets.
The Denver Nuggets have been the best team in the league the last 3 seasons. This regular season and the 2 prior. 2 years ago, they should have won a title. They had some injuries. Last year, they did win the title. And NBA intelligentsia all season long have been saying, here's our next dynasty. How in the world do you answer the Denver Nuggets? And the answer is you hire away their assistant GM, bring him to Minnesota, and he builds a team specifically to dismantle the Denver Nuggets. The Minnesota Timberwolves last night, to your point, Zep, midway through the first quarter, I was texting with my son, and we were both like, this game's over.
Yeah.
Midway through the first quarter.
You can see it in the way the Nuggets were playing. They were just old and just
It wasn't
tired.
just the score. It wasn't like, hey, we have a 12-point lead.
No.
Body language. The Nuggets, great teams know when they're beat.
Yeah.
And they knew it early on. I got a buddy in Denver who's a sports writer, and last night he texted. He said, well, there's obviously some locker room turmoil. They're not getting along. The hardest thing in the NBA to do is win a title. Until you do, then the hardest thing is to do it again.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect example. You've got this team that, again, for the last 3 years, this has been the best team on the planet, and they are unraveling before our very eyes.
Yeah, they get crabby.
Not just me. I'm telling you, Zach, the Nuggets are real.
I've been hearing a lot about the Nuggets, for sure.
It speaks to the difficulties to repeat and to stay at that level, but then also when you have a team like the Timberwolves playing like it's their last day on earth, they are so intense defensively without Rudy Gobert, the $41 million man.
Yeah, a proud papa. He just had a baby boy.
Yeah, not there. He stays back.
Skip for that, but whatever.
41 million. Michael Jordan would have slit his throat if he had been on the Bulls in the 90s. But the point remains, Rudy Gobert doesn't go. He's their defensive leader, and then Naz Reid comes in. Slow-Mo Anderson comes in. They choked the Nuggets down like it was boa constrictor-esque. It was beautiful to see.
Yes, sir.
And none other than Charles Barkley, who knows a little about basketball,
right?
And is the first guy to always say when he was wrong. But last night he said, this series is a wrap. The Nuggets have not one advantage anywhere. They're going to be swept, period. And I'm glad he said it, because I was going to come in and say it, and I was like, really? Am I really saying this? You're damn straight I am.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's very cool.
I've not seen anything in 2 games that suggests the Nuggets have an answer. And by the way, flying to Minnesota is not the antidote for the Nuggets right now.
No, not at all. You know, you always try, and when I watch these sporting games, you try and relate it to something you've experienced yourself. And I remember my junior year of high school, we went 9-0 in football, won the conference, off to the playoffs.
Yep.
Won our quarterfinal, semifinal, off to the state championship. We just got to clean up this little team that lost 2 games this year. Are you kidding me? And Cologne came out and whipped us so bad. I think it was 64-24. We scored a couple of late touchdowns that meant nothing. But they came out and just ran the ball down our throat. And I remember at some point in the second quarter thinking, this is over. We're beat.
Yeah, sure.
I've got nothing left. And it was the longest game of my life. And I'm watching the Nuggets yesterday, and I'm like, just forfeit. Just throw in a towel. If this was a boxing match, my God, you wouldn't even get an 8 count. Anthony Edwards, by the way, after the game.
Edwards on top. He'll put up a 3. Bullseye!
You know, the game plan, the coaches, we had to switch the game plan up a little bit, but, we executed it, and we came out playing super hard. It's tough, man. You know, he's a defensive player of the year, so it's tough playing without Gobert. But, he sent us a nice text, and we had his back. He told us to have his back out there tonight, and we had his back. So he'll be happy to see us when we get home.
Can you feel the frustration starting to build for Denver? It's kind of like the Phoenix series when you got them frustrated? Do you feel like Denver's reaching a point too?
No, not at all, man. This is defending champs. It's going to be tough to beat them the third game. You know, they're going to come out ready to play, man. We just got the best of them this game, and it's just one game. It's not the first of two. It's the first of four. So, I mean, we're happy about this win, but we know we got more business to handle on game 3, and Rudy will be back. So, you know, we'll figure it out.
Target Center's been great all season long, man. What does it mean to go back now and play in front of our home crowd?
We got the home crowd on our side now. We ain't got to worry about getting booed no more, so we might be better off.
Hey, anybody around here have any tickets to games 3 or 4?
I do.
Bastard.
He called him Rudy Goldberg, by the way.
Yeah, so
Goldberg.
that's how Mike Evans pronounce it.
Yeah, that's how it's going to work out. I'm going to be there for Mother's Day Sunday night, which could be
the sweep. Could be
isn't
game
that
4.
phenomenal?
Well, you won't have to stay late. You'll be out of there early.
So worth
Yeah,
it.
leave the car running.
That's incredible.
Just tell the Uber driver to hang tight. You'll be right back.
I can't wait. That's going to be so much fun.
That is really great.
You got to think a team like the Nuggets, you've talked about, how great I guess they can be or have been, but you got to think they'll put up a little bit of a fight. But you saw it in the locker room. Some of the Nuggets being interviewed, they're like, "Oh, it's not over, man." I'm like, "That's not what your face says."
Okay, the old Rudy Tomjanovich classic. You can't never underestimate the heart of a champion. True, I get it. But this champion is wobbly and about to go on the road to a place that's very hard to win under any circumstance now, especially. And the thing, too, about the Timberwolves, they don't play. You heard Anthony Edwards. This is a 22-year-old kid saying, it's not best out of 2. We got to win 4 of these. Not first to 2, it's first to 4.
Say that.
And no, but that everything about that guy says he understands what's happening. He's not. His head's not going to get in the clouds. I'm just 100% in. I've been into this team all season. I've been loving watching them. But man, this is just a really exciting moment. So I would suggest everybody just appreciate it and enjoy it.
Yes.
Right, it's got that same buzz that the Twins did when they went on their championship.
You know what? I might actually comply and get a Minnesota driver's license now. It's only been 16 months. It's only been 16 months. A lot of things going on around here today, including an interview with Jane Seymour.
Ooh la la.
Lady Jane, are you kidding me? Yeah, we're talking with Jane Seymour. We're giving away concert tickets, and we are going to spotlight some very, 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 very important members of society, not our sanitation experts. We gave them a shine yesterday. But there's another day today that's worthy of all of our attention, and we'll get to it in a few minutes. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Tuesday, May the 7th. Quick question I got for you. Tony Lee.
Howdy.
First grade teacher. Name your teacher in first grade.
Mrs. Sperling. I can name them all the way up to 6th grade.
I don't believe you. Second grade.
Miss Carlin, Miss Peterson,
3rd.
Mr. Langevin,
4th.
Miss Harris.
5th.
That was Miss Harris was, and 6th.
Yeah.
Olaf Otterness.
Oh, I love that name.
Olaf Otterness?
All of those names.
How do you spell Otterness?
Otternes, crabby, angry man.
Well,
I love him.
Well, you didn't have to tell me that part. His name's
Olaf.
Olaf.
Yes.
Could have worked for either one. Olaf Otterness. Yeah, that's fat, drunk, and named Olaf Otterness is no way to go through life, as a very important educator once said.
Yes.
It is National Teacher Day. And think about that. Tony Lee was you were a first grader in 1947, and here you can remember every teacher you ever had.
Yeah, there's some fancy book learning I got back
I tell you
then.
what, that is impressive. Zepp, first grade, or kindergarten. Who's the earliest teacher you remember?
Kindergarten. That was Pennsylvania. I don't remember that. I do remember I had my own school counselor in kindergarten. Once a day for an hour I had to go.
Really?
Talk to a counselor. We'd walk around the school and I would just tell him filthy lies. And then, first grade would have been in South Dakota. That was Mrs. Carr.
Sure it was.
Yeah.
Wow. Second grade? Can you go there?
No.
No?
No, I remember a few other ones. I do remember them. I'm not real good with their names. And I only completed 4th grade.
Okay, well, and again, I can't say it often enough. Well done, man. For a 4th grade education, you've done okay.
I feel like I'm making the most out of it.
Candace, first teacher you remember?
Well, Mrs. Johnson was my first grade teacher. She was pretty cool, but I was so little. I blacked all that out.
Okay.
So I was so little.
I'm really good at blacking out my past. But the only teacher that I remember from elementary school that really impacted me was my music teacher, Mrs. Paxson.
Okay.
What instrument do you play?
Well, I played the trumpet, funny enough. But I stopped because my dad played the trumpet, but it was so gross with the spit, so I wasn't that committed. But I would sing, we would sing in class, and she told me just never stop singing.
Wow.
And I was like, okay.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks, Mrs. What was her name?
Paxson.
Paxson.
Nice.
She's still around. We're Facebook friends.
That's
weird.
Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? I got going.
Isn't it?
I remember first day of kindergarten, Miss Kirk. And the reason I remember her was I knew her niece, as it turned out. Ann Kirk was my neighbor. And I walked in and I'm like, hey, Ann. She's like, hey, Steve. And Miss Kirk saw us greet each other and she went, friends, really loud. And I was
awkward.
mortified that somebody yelled out friends and the whole room looked over. And from that moment on, I was like, I'm going to get her back for that. I was like embarrassed and nervous. And then within
Ann sitting in a tree.
I'd say within probably an hour, I was like, I think I'm in love with Miss Kirk. And I just walked around floating like a Peanuts character in her wake anywhere she went. First grade, I had a teacher named Mrs. Gass.
Oh, God, that's hilarious.
Mrs. Gass.
that
and she
poor
was
woman.
so cool.
Yeah.
She was great, and then just went all the way, the whole way through. And Mrs. Gass, check this out. When I started second grade, Mrs. Gass moved up from first to second grade, so I had her for first and second. And here's where my head was. I was like, she just likes me that much.
Oh, double the
I literally
gas.
thought she changed grades because she just wanted to teach me again. I literally thought that. And then my friend Glenn Shelton said, I think Mrs. Gass came to second grade because she likes me so much. And I looked at him and went, you're so stupid.
Yep.
And then I was like, oh, crap, I thought it was me. We're both a little self-involved at that age,
Your
apparently.
fists flew.
Yeah, Mrs. Williams, Miss Rosmarinowski, there's a fourth grade teacher for you. Mrs. Clow in fifth grade, that's Kentucky, paddled me on my second day in school. The move for me was at the age of 10 when corporal punishment was introduced into my educating.
Wow.
Moved to Kentucky and they still paddled you when you'd act up or something. Like she pulled out this giant fiberglass paddle and just whacked my ass really hard with it. And I was like, what is happening? Yeah. And I marched right to I literally marched to the principal's office. I'd been there the day before as the new guy from Maryland. And can I help you? I said, yeah, Mrs. Cloud just hit me with like a paddle or something. And the teacher and the woman at the front desk went, well, what'd you do, honey? I go, and I was like, I want you to call my mom. And then they were like, why don't you go back to class? And then
He was asking for it.
That was it.
So we're asking. Yeah.
A little strange. But and then it goes on from there. But here's the point. We all remember, if not names, we know faces. We can remember the impact our teachers have had on us. It is National Teacher Day. And my gosh, is there any group of people that need, I don't know, maybe 2 days a year? Could we give teachers 2? Because
How about 3 months? They get 3 freaking months.
More pay.
There it is. There's Grumpy Jones over there.
Well, I'm just like...
Remember Grandpa Jones from Yeehaw? Grumpy Jones.
Yeehaw? This is Minnesota.
Love that.
Plenty of people in Minnesota were watching Yeehaw back in the day. I assure you that.
Probably listening. Yeehaw.
My brother Dave is a middle school science teacher, and I constantly think, man, teaching 7th and 8th graders, what kind of patience is required
Those
for
are the
that?
Worst. Those are the worst years of my life.
Attitude, apathy.
And just with a hearty dose of hormones, just coming in strong. A couple of, let me think about it. Actually, off the top of my head, I know of three girls I went through like middle school and high school with, all became teachers. My brother's another one. So from my little school, I can think off right away 4 people who were full-time teachers. I always, and I remember a lot I think I remember something about every teacher I ever had probably, but I remember very clearly the ones I disliked or the ones who taught me subjects I hated. Like I didn't like science. I just, as a general rule, I decided one day I don't like science. And that could be anything from let's discuss the plant kingdom to chemistry. Anything in between that was considered science, I was like, no, I don't care. I like English and history. And I want to read literature. I'm a little Arnie Dirk.
Not into photosynthesis.
I could not have cared less, although I do know that, Xi goes high and flow goes low. And I remember all this crap I learned because she was just a great, Mrs. McGuire, just the best teacher ever. And everything she taught me I didn't care about. And I remember more of that than I do the Red Badge of Courage. It's like incredible the impact that the right teacher can have. And just occasionally the teacher looking at you going, you don't like this, do you? And just a teacher saying that, like, oh, and you're not mad at me for not liking your class? Wow. So all the teachers out there, man, this is your day. I hope you make something great of it. You get one. Whew, baby.
Fortunately, they have to teach today.
Yeah, no, that really shouldn't Teacher Day be like, just give them the whole 4th of July weekend. Let's just celebrate. Fireworks for teachers.
Man, Olaf Otterness almost squelched my creative urge. We get to, writing assignments, and I would get up in front of the class and I would read stories, and I had all these like TV and movie references, and the class is cracking up.
Yeah.
Just laughs aplenty. And he puts his face in his hands. He's like, why do I try? This was not a comedy assignment. And the class booed.
Man, well, that's one way to turn Olaf against you.
I continued on.
Olaf Otterness is sitting somewhere right now, very, very old, staring at a wall going, that damned Lee kid.
Not a happy man.
I'm trying to make people laugh on my time. Man, that's teachers, man, we all remember. Anybody got just come to mind, worst teacher ever? Worst teacher experience?
Oh.
Was there one that stands out? I mean, I have a bunch, but...
Yeah, we had a shop teacher, Mr. Booker. And listen, I had nothing against shop. I liked shop, but he was just angry. He was upset with life. I remember he was single, which was weird to have like a middle-aged dude in his 40s in Woolsey, South Dakota that was single.
Yeah, right.
And he chain-smoked cigarettes. Yeah, right. Right outside that old, metal panel Quonset that was the shop. Down there at the bottom of the hill, but he would just stand outside there and chain smoke, and he threw books at you. He threw books at you, and he's like, and he always started shop class off as, one of you will cut a finger off this semester. Wow. I never did see a finger cut off, but I really wanted him to have one of his fingers cut. Oh, yeah, he would throw books at you if you fell asleep in class or whatever, because he was also study hall teacher. He's the shop teacher. We got to find something else for him to do. He wasn't a coach. So they made him study hall teacher. And everybody at study hall was, oh, good, I can grab some Z's for about a half hour before football practice.
Isn't it funny looking back now as an adult and you realize, oh, no, they, because I mean, my basketball coach literally taught sex ed. And you're in class, really, what, really? They couldn't get anybody better? And the answer is no, they couldn't. There was no budget. Everybody was doing double duty. Like my high school basketball coach when I was in 9th grade, I guarantee you the guy was making $12,000 a year, maybe. So of course he was going to teach sex ed. Boys, there was a lot of heavy petting when I was your age. I never heard another word he said the whole class. Heavy petting, and you're telling us about it? I mean, how uncomfortable must the girls have been?
I think Monty Python's Meaning of Life.
There you go.
Cleese, I think, as the headmaster. That was the best sex ed class ever.
That is the best sex ed class ever.
Not bad.
Don't dive bomb the clitoris.
Yeah.
Can I say that on the air?
We have all these options available to us before we stampede towards the clitoris.
Incredible. All right, well, it's time to sadly stampede west. It's the Mike Evans Hollywood Report in just a few minutes. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's time to go west. The Mike Evans Hollywood Report.
Hey, good morning, Steve and Candace. Good morning, Zip. Good morning, Tony. Can't tell you how great it is to have you back. I'll tell you what. Hey, do I have to remind everybody today is Tuesday? Marcus Theater, Tuesday, $6 for any theater and any movie. Marcus Theater, the only movie chain doing that, and it's right there in the Minneapolis-St. Paul Metro. Just fabulous theaters, fabulous movies to see. $6 might be worthy of playing hooky today. Yeah, checking out a film. Well, I got to tell you guys, this first item is just sad and tragic. People close to Britney Spears are telling her, just disappear. Disappear from the media and the general public and do it immediately. That now that all of her mental problems have reemerged, well, the paparazzi are stalking her, just waiting for her next meltdown, 24/7. And when it happens, they'll be there. However, I don't think Britney will listen because I don't think she understands how serious this is. She's still seeing that boyfriend, Paul Solas, who, by the way, she met when he was her housekeeper, making $15 an hour. And this is shocking. He got the job despite Brittany knowing that he had done time in prison for multiple felony convictions, including felony sales of drugs, felony firearm violations, felony ammunition charges, child endangerment, and I hear others. And unfortunately, it is true. Brittany's been dating this guy for over a year. And police have been called to a couple of different cities because of their violent fights in hotels. He is one of the main reasons that Brittany's sons moved to Hawaii, just to get away from him and from her and their out-of-control toxic lifestyle. Obviously, Britney Spears, she ain't tracking. Got some movie news for you. One Spoon of Chocolate. It's a drama. Started shooting yesterday about an ex-military convict who returns to his small hometown to start fresh. But a woman gets involved. And One Spoon of Chocolate stars Michael Jackson's daughter, Paris Jackson. Boy, I hope she can act because she can't sing a lick. And I've been getting more and more emails from our listeners wanting more and more suggestions about any old TV series or old movies, perhaps, that they have missed that are available streaming. Well, three of my favorite actors, and I think you'd agree, Steve. For me, Robert Duvall, Robert Downey Jr., and Billy Bob Thornton. And all three star in a really good movie made in 2014, 10 years ago, called The Judge. The Judge. Currently on Netflix and on Prime. And you're welcome. Hey, this isn't old. In fact, it hasn't even been seen yet. But heads up. Airing date has been set for the Nicole Brown Simpson A Life Stolen documentary. It'll be 2-night special with shocking insights about OJ. It'll air on June 1 and June 2 on Lifetime. There you go, and there you be. Have a great day. We'll do it again tomorrow. Mike Evans. See ya.
The Mike Evans Hollywood Report. Tuesday. It is Tuesday. Thank you for that. How about we look back? On May 7th, 1995, the Minnesota Twins and the Cleveland Indians played a game. The Twins won 10-9, 17 innings. It took 6 hours and 46 minutes. Okay, August or September, go for it, man. Finish it out.
Yeah.
Get that playoff. May... almost 7 hours of baseball in May. It's just hell on earth.
You've got all your baseball in for the season now.
Yeah, get me in, get me out. What are you kidding?
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the Tuesday, May 7th, KQ Morning Show. Good morning. It is National Teacher Day.
Yeah.
And so we're just tipping the cap and high-fiving and giving a hearty slap on the back. And, well, if you got an itch, we'll scratch it there, too. But we love teachers. We appreciate teachers. We even love the teachers we hated. Now, that in hindsight, thanks for the effort, everybody. Seriously. I mean,
thanks for trying to reach me.
Some of us are just not meant to be broken.
No,
you know what I mean? That's how that goes.
Not. Hey, I've got a good friend out there who's probably up listening this morning. Often does. I know Teach. That's what we call him. Teach. Kevin Bass, the technology education instructor at Lakeville North High School.
Attaboy.
I thought you guys just built motorcycles. Look at that. I had to go to his Facebook page. Technology education instructor. I wonder if he can even spell that. Teach, I love you, buddy.
Yeah, nice. Thank you for that, Brian. Well done.
Yeah, here's a guy that he connects with his students. I love talking to his students. We get out to the Donnie Smith Bike Show. They had a bike out that they had built, a couple of them. And, there are kids that... he really connects with, and that's a lifetime thing, I'm sure. My brother Dave is a middle school science teacher in Knoxville, Tennessee, and over the years, many times I have been approached by somebody who comes up and goes, "Are you Steve Gorman?" And I go, "As a matter of fact, I am. Maybe you saw me on stage with it." And they go, "Your brother was my favorite teacher ever." And I'm like, "Oh, that again? Great. I thought we were here to talk about me." Yeah. But no, literally, I mean, like, just beloved and a heck of a guy. On the KQ Talk and Text line, 651-989-ROCK, which, of course, you are welcome to talk or text anytime you like. We got a text here really quick. Had a fifth grade teacher, Mr. Winston, tall, redheaded man, and he smoked Winston cigarettes.
His classroom was across from the teacher's lounge. Back then, smoking was allowed in school. Every time the lounge door opened, massive smoke came pouring out. I remember the teacher's lounge, and it was literally it was just two things: coffee and cigarettes.
Yeah, it was like Cheech and Chong getting out of the car.
Yeah.
He would just billow out clouds.
The teacher's lounge, it was just that Otis Redding song. Cigarettes and coffee. Just that's all they were.
Oh, I bet there was more than coffee back there.
That's
Come
probably
on,
true.
teachers. But as far as we knew, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. There was. So let's see what else we got. Oh, I'll tell you what else we have. In about an hour, we're giving away Minnesota Twins tickets. Yeah, that's right. You want to go see the Twins? We got tickets.
Hey, they're on a winning streak, a one-game winning streak.
A one-game streak. It's time for a new rally sausage. And then around 8:30, that's right, Jane Seymour is calling in. Jane Seymour, who's got a new project to discuss.
Still, I'm not, I don't want to put her on the spot. Jane Seymour has been around a long time, but 50 years as a hot sex symbol. I mean, my God, I share that with my dad. I remember my dad going, "Oh, Jane Seymour." Yeah. And I was just thinking, okay. We both.
It's
really
a little strange.
Lima beans and Jane Seymour.
Lima beans and Jane Seymour.
Floated his boat.
The young Steve Gorman, excited as anything ever to watch for the first time Live and Let Die. Why? Because Paul McCartney has the theme song. So I'm like, oh my God, McCartney's got a theme song. And then she walked on screen and I was like, oh, that's different. Yeah. Big fan of. And by the way, Somewhere in Time, Christopher Reeve, Jane
Somewhere in
Seymour.
Time. Oh, beautiful.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Anyway, we're talking with her at 8:30. That's going to be pretty exciting. We all, on occasion, find ourselves traveling, and sometimes that's traveling on an airplane. So, quick question before we get started. Anybody ever have to drop a deuce on a flight?
Never have.
Never?
Not one time, no.
Is that true?
No,
Never?
no.
Really? Okay.
Candace, I know you have.
I've flown over to Europe a couple of times, but just never came up. So, no. And domestic flights, I think I can hold it. No emergencies.
Candace, anything you want to share?
Well, every time I have to go do that, it's an emergency. I don't understand how people can
every time it's an emergency.
Can just hold it. I don't.
Well,
also, you're not
called a tight
supposed
butthole.
to
I do
hold
butthole
it.
exercises.
I think those are called. No, never mind.
Take your shot, man.
I was going to make a joke about Kegels, and then I moved on. I don't know how many people here have. So, Candace, so you've been in that situation. Look, I'll tell you right now, I have. I've been on a flight, and I've been like, I cannot believe. No, I'm going to.
You told us about one here. Was it this year?
No, that was me throwing. That was vomit.
Oh,
that's a whole different thing.
Okay.
We can talk about that too.
All right.
But for right now, there is a travel site that's called 1 Mile at a Time, and they've got a little they've got a travel tip for all of us, which is if you gotta go, if you're on a plane and you're like where I was one time, like I can't believe this is happening. There's no way I can't hold this, and I was like, oh my God, I can't hold this. They've got a little list, the best time to poop on an airplane, and here's your tips. Just a little, it's a little public service from us to you.
Is that right, Mr. Poopy Pants?
That's right. Right before they start the food and drink service, just keep your eye on the flight attendants, because here's the thing: once those carts are in the aisle, you're not getting to that bathroom. So you gotta get just ahead of it. No one wants to be in this situation, but we understand emergencies happen for Candace and other people. Emergencies come up on a plane. The worst times are right after takeoff, right after they serve food, and of course right before you land. That's high traffic time for the lavatory. So right before they start serving food for 3 reasons. 1, other passengers are sitting down because they don't want to miss food and drink. So they're buckling in. You go, when they zig, you zag, okay?
All right.
2nd, the crew won't be in the galley. They won't be aware that you're in there doing that. I guess if that's a concern.
Cares?
Yeah, couldn't possibly care less. Once the carts are in the aisles, you can't get to the bathroom. But then here's the other tip, and this is an important one. As soon as you go, flush, and then flush again when you're done after you've cleaned up. It's like multiple flushing is perfectly acceptable.
Okay.
And when you wash your hands, most airplanes use a foaming soap, and it really does act as an air freshener. It's a very strong scent. So wash your hands, covers the smell, and then you get back to your seat, and you feel good about yourself.
No.
Actually, you don't. You feel like, you go back to your seat, even under the best circumstances, you feel like a barnyard animal when you take a dump on a plane.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Is it okay? It can be traumatic for some people. I don't have dump phobia, I like to hold the door open on the plane with my foot.
Yeah, right.
Just to keep the air coming in. Say hi to people as they go by.
I don't have
some crackers.
I don't have dump phobia. It's just a leg room problem for me. I'm
That's true.
I'm trying to think if I ever sat down in there. I remember I used to, do 1-ies back there, and I probably sat down for a moment for something like that. But yeah, to do my business, even to pee.
Yeah.
I don't believe I've ever sat down in one of those. I don't know how you could.
And I love that there's always the little drawing of that says sit down even to pee. Like they want you to sit. It's like, that's not happening.
No.
Right there on the little wall, there's the little like stick figure guy, and it's like, and they have they'll have a guy standing in front of the toilet with an X through it. Like, no. Even guys, you got to sit down here. That ain't happening.
No, you're so close. I mean, I'm not going to miss. My God, I've got the whole toilet bowl. It's
you
right
guys
there
miss
below
all
me.
the time.
I don't miss. I'm like
some people
I've
do.
got like a little laser sight on the top of my wiener. I know exactly. I just put the red dot right in the back of the bowl.
It's okay. Sometimes I miss too.
No, I do miss sometimes. But I do miss sometimes, and as I get older, it goes right. Sometimes it's just like 45 degrees. Right. Oh, going that way.
Well, I have short little legs, so oftentimes I have to scoot way back. I got to scoot way back, and my feet don't even touch the ground. So sometimes, there is a little splitter splatter.
Your little dangling toesies.
So because your feet don't touch, you splatter.
I got to scoot back, and if I don't scoot back far enough, then,
That's adorable.
Man, that's tough. I'm just thinking about Brian Zepp going Scott Norwood in the bathroom there, wide right every time. It's impressive. There it is.
Norwood.
I was on what airline was it? There was a flight on tour in the day, and I remember this only happened once. I have flown in first class on occasion, both internationally and domestically. And the only difference in the first class bathroom from coach is it's a little bigger.
Okay.
I got on a flight once. I want to say it was Air France, and it was you can always tell. By the way, if you look at my travel plans, it's like, is the label paying for it? Yeah, we're sitting in first. Are we? The business will be fine. I walked into a lavatory on like an Air France flight, and it was. I mean, I could have laid down in there. I could have hung up a rope hammock. It was like, this is like 7 seats you're losing on the flight for the bathroom. I was like, man, the French really do airline lavatories well. It was I didn't want to leave. I just stood in there.
Was
like,
there
oh
a
my
bidet?
God, it's like a little cab. I got my own little cabana. And I literally could stand straight up. I had arm room. I was spinning around.
Nice.
I was like, man, the French are so dignified.
It's not planes, but everywhere I go, like I always want to go to the bathroom. Every restaurant I go to, every place I stay, I like to just check out the bathroom.
Oh, you mean you're just talking about doing some recon on it?
Yeah,
you can tell what kind of joint it is.
It is, yeah.
Oh, if it has a bad bathroom, you won't eat there?
Well, no, some places have just really cute bathrooms. Like I went to Gigi's Cafe in Minneapolis yesterday, and they had all these cool vinyls in the bathroom. I like to see what,
Yeah, they don't do that in men's
decor.
bathrooms. I remember wandering into a women's bathroom one time, not inappropriately. It was just like, you got to come see this. There was a couch in there. There was a vase with real flowers.
Oh, yeah, it's decorative.
Yeah, it smells
lovely.
good. Yeah, no, guys, it's like it's a combat room.
It's a trough.
Yeah, it's a trough. It's basically it's a barn.
Yeah, that's what I said. You come out and you're just, I mean, there's just nothing worse than sitting. And what has happened many times is I'm just sitting on the plane in a state of deep meditation to just, you don't have to do this. You can make it. It's another 90 minutes. You're fine. You're an adult.
Yeah.
And those are never good. What's way worse than having to hold back a deuce is when you are, and this, by the way, this just happened to me last month. Rosemary and I went to New York City for a weekend. And on that flight in, I had a beer at the airport. I had one on the plane, maybe 2 on the plane, whatever. We're going to New York.
counting?
We're having fun. We're
Party boy.
cutting loose. And then we're about 30 minutes. They say, okay, we're making our initial approach. You got 30 minutes. This is last chance for the bathroom. And I thought, well, I should probably get up and go pee before, And I thought about it. I did a full inventory, and I was like, I don't have to. There's nothing about me that needs to pee. I'll be fine. 10 minutes later, I'm like, oh, God, what? I've done this, and I know better. And then we start circling. We don't land directly at LaGuardia. We're up. It was probably an hour before we touched down, and I walked off the plane. It hurts.
Yeah.
Like I'm in that painful thing. When I get to the bathroom, I go, but then I still just am in pain. I was like so uncomfortable. And I've had that. That's happened on more than a few occasions. Back in the old days, this was what it was. I was like, this is like a 90s flight for me when I was just drunk and stupid.
Yeah.
This was just me with a nice little light tingly buzz and stupid. But still, the point remains. There's nothing worse than there's a moment when you're holding back that beer pee when suddenly your kidneys or something, every part of your body's like, you stupid ass. I'm going to make you suffer for at least 2 hours now. You get out, you've relieved yourself, and you're still just, oh, God, I don't feel good. I don't feel good a lot.
It throws your whole pee schedule off. Mom's tried to teach us, go before we leave. I don't have to go anyway.
Yeah.
You always
They
do.
tried to preempt it. Moms, they did the best they could with us.
So airlines and bathrooms, it's not just for 1 and 2 anymore. Oh, you want to hear about hurling on planes? Don't worry. We've got a great story about that as well. That's coming up very shortly. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. In about a half hour, we're giving away Twins tickets. We're going to play a game. We're going to make you earn them. So that'll be a lot of fun. Tony Lee's back after a time away. It was you were doing what? You're a furrier now. You were learning how to make fur coats. Is that what
Actually,
happening?
my grandpa Eddie was a furrier
Is that
in
true?
Billings, Montana. Yeah.
My mom was worked for a fur company. She made fur coats for, 20-some years after I graduated high school.
Look at the two of you guys.
How about that?
Yeah, working on the furs. But the Montana thing, that sounds like they were like, my mom just sewed linings into rich women's coats.
Wow.
But it sounds like that was hands-on.
Oh, he had a
Who was
beautiful store in Billings, Montana, downtown.
And this was
cool.
Whom?
My grandpa Eddie.
Grandpa Eddie.
Eddie Bernstein.
Yeah, he's got a lot of
Furrier.
ties to Montana.
Eddie
out there.
Bernstein, the furrier from Montana. Wow, that's fantastic. But so anyway, Tony, glad to have you back.
Me too. Thank you.
Day 2 of a new era for Tony Lee.
Feels lovely.
Ready to make fur coats, ready to whatever it is. That's great.
Yeah, my granny and my mom had just beautiful fur coats.
Oh, yeah, right.
Man, that's spectacular.
Can't do that anymore.
We need to do a whole. Let's write a show. Let's get a show on Netflix about the guy who heads out west.
Okay.
I'm just picturing it has to start in Brooklyn. He's a Jewish furrier in Brooklyn. I don't know. I want to go to Montana.
What was that Harrison Ford
Get some
movie with
fresh
Gene
air.
Wilder? They did
Incredible movie.
a fantastic movie, under the radar. I think I've watched that movie 4 or 5 times. I like it so much. And
It is called The Frisco Kid.
Oh, the
That's it.
Frisco Kid. I
love
remember
that movie.
Incredible, man.
Yeah, great movie.
Yeah, that was when Harrison Ford could still just, he was already Han Solo, but he wasn't, what's his name? Indiana Jones.
Jones,
So
yeah.
he was still just like an up-and-coming movie star.
Yeah.
And, boy, I love The Frisco Kid. I love that movie so much. Penny Pizer, the actress's name.
Oh, what a cutie
She
pie.
had The Frisco Kid and The In-Laws back to back.
Oh, yes. Yes,
Two
Penny
two
Pizer.
classics.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Those were good days. The Penny Pizer era. She had like a 3-year run in Hollywood, and I had front row tickets, baby. So we were talking earlier about protocols for lavatory explorations on airplanes. Okay, on the other side of do you have to pee or do you have to poo? Sometimes people get sick, and again, last year or maybe it was first thing this year early. I was thrown up on a flight this year. I don't remember I don't want to bog everybody down with that. I don't want to bog you down with my stories from the bog, but I had that happen. Ate something, it greatly disagreed with me at about 30,000 feet. But that was just me. It was a one-off. I got in, I got out, I got in, I got out. As far as I know, my fellow passengers were none the wiser. It was fine.
Yeah.
Unlike this, check this out. Thursday last week, on a flight from Mauritius, is that how you say it? Mauritius. It's an island nation off the coast of Africa near the Seychelles.
Yes.
Mauritius to Frankfurt, Germany on Condor Airlines. 38,000 feet, a passenger got up. I feel terrible. Runs to the bathroom, has to throw up.
Yeah.
And then another. And then another.
Oh, no.
70 passengers.
70. Oh, my
on
God.
Flight. 70.
Not all of them made it to the bathroom.
No.
There's
Of
course
no
not.
way.
No. Oh, no. There was not a bag to be found
The
by the
vomit
time that
comet.
plane's
Oh,
on.
that's a Stephen King scene.
Yeah.
There were 290 people on board, and 70 of them, by the time the plane landed, were vomiting like without stop. They couldn't stop.
All right, like 3 people legitimately got sick on something we're serving.
That's what I was.
And
That's
then
exactly right.
67 people just fell like dominoes.
The domino
I think.
effect.
Yeah. Especially the stench in there. So it's called the vomit comet. NASA has that, I don't know, 737.
Yeah, the anti-gravity.
Yeah, that they take up and they do a big arc inverted and you're weightless for a little bit. And a lot of people, their first time in the flight, will puke in there.
Sure.
There'll be, you have
But
that.
it floats.
And floating puke, but now you're on the vomitorium here, the vomit comet. 70 people
70
evacuating.
people.
That's horrifying.
Yeah.
Apparently, they had an offer of steak or fish, and of course Leslie Nielsen had the lasagna.
Yes.
Well, we had steak or fish, so that's right. I had the lasagna.
Anything like that I've never heard of this. You think, after 30-some years of doing wacky morning radio, you've heard all the scenarios. 70 people vomiting on a flight, the same flight.
That is hey, Condor Air. Let's clean out the pipes, okay? Let's do something. In 1975, the most extreme case ever happened on a Japan Airlines flight from Anchorage, Alaska to Paris. Was forced to land early in Copenhagen, Denmark, because on that flight, a mass outbreak of food poisoning happened. 197 people with nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, all on one plane.
Oh, the combo platter.
197.
I bet you get the people off there, you just got to throw a match in there. You just got to burn that thing. Just hit it with jet fuel. I mean, that plane is never...
Well, you've got to put all the people... First of all, they go straight down to the tarmac where the fire team with the hoses are there to just clean up the mess.
Oh, that thing must have just sloshed when it landed. You would be wading in it. You would be sitting in it. You'd be covered in it.
It is really something to think about, like you said, though, because if you are surrounded, do you have that thing? If someone's throwing up around you, do you then have the trigger yourself to want to go throw up?
I haven't generally.
I haven't had that.
Yeah, sometimes Candace. Well, do they even still have the vomit bags on the? I don't go through the seat.
And the plane, yeah, they do.
They still have those. That's not going to probably get the job done, but that's a start. Everyone getting off with their little bag in their hand, doing that little burp. Ugh.
Do you, if you're just puking your guts up on a plane, do you feel better or worse that it's not just you? Do you feel a sense of community, or do you just
No, I'd rather
give
be
the thumbs up to your neighbor?
Just curious.
Just me, baby.
Yeah, you want to go all
We're going to get
there?
together every year on this date, and no, it's not a. I don't think that's a bonding experience. Yeah, that makes my stomach hurt just thinking about it.
I used to have fake vomit, the fake little plastic vomit. I used to love to bring that everywhere. It was one of my favorite pranks.
Hold on a second. You?
Can you believe it? Yes.
It's hard to believe.
Always in my
Lee.
pocket.
And that's what started it. Tony just whipped that down on the flight right there, and somebody saw it. And
I
it
think
was,
I had that too. My dad used to get me stuff like that, and I had my favorite one of those was the gum, where you would offer someone a gum, and then it would be very painful.
Can I tell you a fake vomit story?
Because
Does
he's
it
got
work?
fake puke in his pocket. Yes, please.
First stint at KQ, our old buddy Terry Train had been out sick. And I brought the fake vomit and I dropped it on the floor in the coffee lunchroom.
Is it like hard plastic or is it soft?
It's soft, kind of pliable plastic with detailed
chunks
little
in it.
chunks of things.
Oh, yeah.
And I put it on the floor.
Nice.
And there's a woman, her name was Nadia, who was an administrative assistant. And she came out and she went, "Oh my goodness, what happened here?" And I said, Terry's been sick. I think that's what happened. And she said, "What's wrong?" And I reached in with my fingers and I poked at it and I tasted it. And I said, "I'm not sure what she has." And she went, "Oh my!" And she took a paper towel, picked it up, and threw it away, and didn't question why I tasted the vomit.
Wow!
Where Nadia comes from, that's normal.
Didn't know it was fake.
Waste not, want not, Tony.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
That says a lot about Nadia.
But then that means you went into a trash can to fish out your fake vomit.
Of course I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Either that or Nadia had just been working around you too long.
I love the idea. I love the idea of walking into a room. Tony, what are you doing in the trash can? I'm just trying to get my fake vomit out of the trash.
Yeah, what do you think?
That's a beautiful moment right there.
Oh, here's my fake turd.
Man, that's insane. We do have a text that says, I have 2 words for Tony's return. He's great.
Aw,
With a bunch of
Tony
ours.
the Tiger.
So
you.
happy to have your warped wit back on the airwaves. Glad
That's so
your health
sweet.
is on track and you're feeling wonderful. That's from Ella. And Tony, maybe that did come in right before we talked about you tasting fake vomit and
funny.
digging it out of the trash. So
Good timing.
let's hope Ella's still hanging in there. Speaking of the KQ Talk and Text line, do we have a caller, Candace?
Yes, we have Tom from Forest Lake.
Tom, good morning.
Good morning.
What's happening, brother?
Oh, well, I have a story. We just came back from a cruise in March, and I don't know what my wife ate or whatever, but she ended up throwing up on the way back, and we didn't. It was Southwest, so we didn't have assigned seating. And my daughters were sitting next to it. I was like probably 15 aisles away from them, and they're telling me about what happened. And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, Mom threw up on the plane." She held out of that bag for almost the remainder of the flight for like an hour, and everybody around her was holding it, trying to keep themselves from throwing up because everybody ended up sitting around and were pulling the bag out because the stench was so bad and everything.
Oh, no.
I'm like, why did you get rid of this?
Yeah.
She's like, I didn't know what to do. Well, then it turns out that her ears popped so bad from throwing up, she still is suffering from it.
Oh,
my God.
And it's been about 2 months since we got back. So,
Good
be careful when you're on a plane
gracious.
throwing up. Your ears might not come back to normal afterwards.
I've never puked so hard I've ruptured an eardrum.
Yeah, no. Man,
Thanks,
well,
guys.
thanks for the call, Tom. Give your wife our best. I'm sorry she's still suffering from that.
Yeah, that's...
I know. Yeah, tell me about it because I have to live with it too.
Wow.
He's cracking up.
So we got our priorities in line. We'll be all right.
Well,
All
she
right.
can't hear him. She has a ruptured eardrum.
Jeez,
All right, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, bye.
When he said coming back I thought that was going to be a cruise story. I just immediately go. I've never been. Well, that's not true. The point is, I've been seasick once, but it wasn't It wasn't just being seasick. It was having been awake the entire night before, getting on a boat at sunrise, just hammered. That is a recipe for seasickness. And so, it's a Gulf deep water fishing, deep sea diving, deep sea fishing, whatever trip. A group of us on a chartered boat, and it was literally like the 7 a.m. departure on a gray, rainy November. What am I doing? Why am I signing up for this? But I played through the night before.
Fitzgerald.
Played through the night before, and I'm like, well, you know what? It's too late to stop now. I'll just hit the boat with another martini going.
Yeah.
And we rode. The boat just took off, just raced like a bat out of hell to get to a fishing spot for about an hour, just going fast. And I'm up front, and I'm like, this is amazing. I feel great. I was very alive. The minute we stopped moving forward and dropped anchor, it's the worst I've ever felt in my life. And it's like an 8-hour trip, and I'm on the boat with a bunch of other guys, and they're like, oh man, are you okay? And I'm like, I can't say you got to take me back. I'm not going to ruin everyone's trip. It was 7 or 8 hours that felt like 7 or 8 months. I
Grab
kid
the
you
rail.
not.
Oh, horrible.
It's the only time in my life I've truly lost sense of time and place. I've just never been more miserable.
A little Imodium, maybe.
And we got back when we finally got back, I walked off the boat and there was a blimpy sandwich. And someone said, you got to eat. If you got to put something in your stomach. And I was like, I can't possibly eat right now. I took one bite of that sandwich, and like my body was like, yes, this is the answer.
Okay.
I put down the entire blimpy in record time. And then literally was like, well, I wish I'd known that. I would have just had a blimpy on the boat. I felt fine. Just like, boom, I was okay.
How was it? Never had a blimpy.
Take your motion sickness pills or your blimpy sub with you if you're going out on a booze cruise.
Blimpy, the sub of Tiger Woods, because if you remember the big Vanity Fair expose into all of his illicit affairs, there was one of the women he had been spent some time with, and I just remember she gave her whole story. He took me out, we did this, and then he broke it off. He said that's all, and the woman said we went to a Blimpie to get sandwiches, and while we were at Blimpie, he told me he couldn't see me anymore. And the journalist followed up with, did he ever give you any gifts? Was there anything he left for you? Did you have anything to remember him by? And the woman literally said, just the blimpy.
Hey, big spender.
And I always thought, great punk rock band name, Just the Blimpy. Because you could play under that bill, book a gig in Florida, and somewhere Tiger Woods would be like, Just the Blimpy.
Son of a bitch.
Candace, do we have another caller?
Yes, we have Ted from St. Cloud.
Ted, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Quick one. 1968, about 8th grade, South Junior High. Sitting in the bleachers, a big assembly. And one of the girls in one of the bleachers lost it big time. And she happened to throw up on the girl in front of her. And this girl didn't know what was going on. She grabbed her hair, and she looked at her hand, and she threw up on the next person in front of her.
Nice.
So it was like a chain reaction. It was just incredible.
And perfectly situated on the bleachers. So it's like a slinky rolling down the staircase. Just the vomit, the vomit, the vomit, the vomit.
Yeah, the tidal wave
of the bile and such, just kind of dripping off the bleachers.
Sure.
Oh, it was Ted. And then, custodians don't make enough. I'm sorry.
No, they don't. Two thoughts on that. First of all, the woman who started that chain reaction, wherever she is now, she's like, no one probably remembers that. Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah,
at least
we're
she was
still talking about
from it.
Best to be in the back row of the bleachers for sure. Thanks for the call, Ted. I had my senior year. I worked on the custodial staff at my school. A little extra, little change in the pocket, and most of my work was done after school. Cutting the grass on the school grounds, sweeping up, cleaning the gym floor, whatever. It's just odd jobs. Me and another buddy, another senior, and we had keys to everything. We could go into all of our teachers' offices. It was crazy. I can't believe they trusted us with that.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I got and so my school, there was also an elementary school, and occasionally in the middle of the day, I'd be in class, and Steve Gorman, come to the office, please. That meant a child has been sick in class. And I would get up, go to the office, they'd say 3rd grade, and I'd walk to the janitor's closet, open up, get my big bag of orange powdered goo to clean up vomit. And it was always a little kid. And one day I got the call, and they said it's in the physics room, physics class, which was high school. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go in there to clean up the puke of one of my high school friends. And they'll be so embarrassed. This will be so funny. I walked in, it was my recently broken up with ex-girlfriend. She had hurled all over the floor.
She was just sick over the breakup.
And I it was awesome because I was, and then of course I'm acting like this is no big deal. We're all young adults here.
Yeah.
And of course I'm like, if you wanted to say hi, you could have just called. She's just devastated, crying. Still, she's back from the bathroom. She had cried a little bit. It was just embarrassing, and I was like, man, yeah, she didn't live that one down for a while. that was authority, the ultimate authority.
Yeah, it was the janitor being called in.
There was a few times I'm trying to when he said the bleachers, I had a thought. I was like, wait, something happened in the bleachers, and it wasn't someone puked on the bleachers at assembly like that, but there was somebody threw up under. So the bleachers in our high school gym, it was just one side of the gym. It was a small gym, so there was like 8 rows of bleachers on one side, not on both. And somebody during the school day went into the gym and went underneath the bleachers and threw up and just left it there.
Yeah.
And this is in the South in October, still pretty warm outside, still pretty hot. And at some point, somebody's like, hey, there's a smell in the gym. And so you got to go find it. And it's just looking around forever. And then I'm finally like, and I'm thinking to myself, so not only did someone puke under the bleachers and not think to share that information with anybody, they went deep. Like they went in there like almost by design, like I'm going to ruin this gym for the day. and so you're underneath and it was like lower. And so to get to it, you're like crawling in and it's the kind of bleachers that you could fold up too. So it's just all the framework underneath it to climb through and find it. And I'm like, this had to be like a small child from the elementary school. Who did this? Never found out. I would love to say we found the culprit, but it was always one of the great mysteries. Like, who did that? Wow. And the people were trying to find out. They were like, there was an incident in the gym, and somebody knows what they did under those bleachers.
Who would fess up to that?
Sounds like a cold case file to me. This is a podcast waiting to happen.
Man, there's somebody.
We can go back and crack this.
Somebody in Hopkinsville, Kentucky in 1982 still owes me for that one. Bastards. What the hell's wrong with people?
Probably a buddy of yours.
I wouldn't be at all surprised. I'm sure it was. In fact, they probably, now that I've literally never had this thought until now, they probably threw up into a container and then just like threw it. We're able to launch like you throw water out of a pitcher or something.
Steve Gorman, the gym. Report to the gym.
I'm Steve Gorman from the office, please. It's just like the school administrator and airline pilots. They go to the same place to learn how to speak on the microphone. From the principal's office. From the flight deck. It's always the same.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Springsteen, Cover Me. Didn't see that one coming.
Nice.
Is that Born in the USA?
It is. That was like the 4th or 5th single, probably, released on that album.
4th or 5th out of what, 7?
Yeah, right.
I believe. Seriously? Yeah.
No number ones, though. He always blamed that on Prince. That's what you get for releasing an album, a blockbuster album, the same year Prince releases Purple Rain.
Yeah, he'll get in the way.
Yep, he did.
Little guy, but boy, he gets in the way, huh?
He sure did.
I saw the Born in the USA tour. I went with my girlfriend and some of her siblings. They were all Springsteen fanatics, lifers. Originally from Philly, which is close to Jersey, so they had the birthright thing going.
Oh, I didn't know about that, yeah.
Drove about 3 hours in the pouring rain to get there and then fell dead asleep during the concert. Sober as a judge.
Oh, wow.
Sober as a judge, second row behind the stage. They had seats up, so you're looking straight down on everyone's back. And Springsteen would turn and play to that side of the arena a good bit too.
How we doing in the backstage?
Yeah, that was it. So they came out rocking, played a few songs, and then they went to the acoustic set.
Yeah, he does that, and he'll get up there with his harmonica and go, when I was a boy in Jersey. And he'll tell you about a 5-minute story, and then boom, you're in the river all of a sudden. The song.
Well, I was in a deep sleep, just sitting in a chair, and didn't do well for the relationship. Was not a. I mean, I'm like, look, I drove here in a thunderstorm while you guys had a fun trip. Okay, I'm tired. He's playing half of Nebraska for some reason. I'm dead. Let me just catch up here. And it was end of the year. It was the fall, so he played Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Oh yeah.
It was like that was kind of cool. And I remember sitting there watching the show. I'm looking right over the back of the band. I'm looking at Max Weinberg, and I remember thinking, because at the time I was still I was like, I got to be a drummer one day. And I remember thinking, like, that's the perfect gig. You're playing arenas all over the world. You're giant, but you're anonymous. You get up the next day and nobody cares who you are. You walk down the street. That sounds like the coolest thing in the world. And the funny part is, on a quick tangent, met Max Weinberg probably 15 years after that.
Hero of yours, isn't he?
And I've never met a bigger dick. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, you say Max Weinberg around Steve Gorman, and he makes an aggressive move at you. How bad could it have been?
I've met a lot of colorful characters, by which I mean a lot of people that in normal life you'd go, "What an a-hole," but that's fine. It's what. It's such. Hey, whatever. That's who they are. He's the one guy. I'm just like, no, because people say like, "Who's the biggest?" Max Weinberg. Just right to it.
Just super arrogant.
Just a not a happy guy, and then makes damn sure you know it, and then tries to make you not a happy guy.
Wow.
He's just a rusty can of a human being.
That sucks.
Yeah. He's the can that gave Hutch botulism on Starsky and Hutch. That's him.
It's so funny about that. John Mellencamp and Springsteen were recently doing a little podcast thing, and I thought, well, I'm going to jump in and listen to these two crazy cats. They defined probably my high school music years a lot.
Yeah.
Those two, Mellencamp, what I was living, and Springsteen about getting the hell out of there. But anyway, so I thought I jumped in on the podcast. And the topic came up about yelling at or coming down hard on guys in your band. These guys weren't in a band. They had a band, each one of them. And Mellencamp was pretty notoriously tough on his band.
Sure.
Springsteen, no, not so much. No. Well, except for Max.
Yeah.
That's all he said. He goes, well, except for Max.
Yeah.
Funny.
A lot of stories. Over the years. So here on the morning show thus far, we've talked about all kinds of fun things. Puking on planes, dumping on planes. Plains. It's National Teacher Day.
Yes.
Shout out to the teachers of the world, even the bad teachers. Nice try. Good effort. We appreciate it. But we all remember. It's funny. We started the show by saying first grade teacher, second grade teacher. It's amazing how many of your teachers you remember by name.
Oh, yeah.
Even at our advanced ages. So, to any current or former, or I guess I should say even future teachers, thanks, man. Good job.
Yeah.
Sorry about being underpaid for your whole career for doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Twins are at home tonight. Target Field, the Seattle Mariners are in town. The Twins now sitting on a one-game winning streak. But all great winning streaks start somewhere. Let's see if they can go for two. We've got tickets to give away, if memory serves. Tony, what are we doing today?
Let's go to it. This is a very, very complicated game. What I'm going to do is name some names of businesses. Tell us, are they real or not real? Do they actually exist, or are they fictional from TV shows or movie, etc.? And you'll win prizes it's unheard of.
None of your business.
None ya. All
Getting down to business.
Getting down to business. I like it. Candace, we have two callers ready to compete. Who is contestant number one?
Wade from Chaska.
Wade, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
We are great. Thank you very much. Are you ready to play Getting Down to Business?
Get down to business.
Sounds like it.
So yes. All right, yes. Big Daddy. Number one, Acme Corporation. Real or fiction?
Real.
Oop! That's from Looney Tunes, Roadrunner and Coyote.
Wait a minute. I cannot order a rocket to tie to my ass.
What's that?
I stepped all over Wade. Sorry there, Wade. What'd you say?
I said I thought there was an Acme tool company at one point.
Yeah, there's probably 1,000 Acmes around the country. That was probably a bad choice on my part, but
I don't know. I kind of feel like we have to probably give that one to Wade. All
sorry. Right. Sorry, Wade.
Yeah.
Acme Comedy Company.
That's a sure.
Yeah, I just got back. Bad call. Bad call, man. It was a bad call.
Listen. You're on injured reserve for a while. You come back. You don't expect to hit the ball that far first at bat, Tony. We get it.
The foundry that stinks over there in St. Paul. I guess the name of it is Acme Foundry Company.
Okay, well now you're just piling on.
Acme Organics.
All right.
That's over in St. Paul.
All right, he got it
Hey,
right.
Zep, kick him in the shin. Why don't you kick Tony Lee right in the shin?
There's Acme Knits in St. Paul.
Oh, they do fine work. Got a cardigan there, I believe.
I'm not even kidding you. Acme Awnings in Minneapolis.
All right, you know what, Wade? We're giving you 7 points for that one answer instead of just one.
Justice is served.
In Hugo, there's Acme Automotive and Alignment. I'm done now. All right, Acme Jazz Company. Done.
Tony, your nose is bleeding.
I had Acme as a teenager. All right, number 2, Mr. Man. Al's Comics. Real or fiction?
Oh, brother, that's the same thing. I'm going to say fiction, though.
Correct. I was thinking from The Simpsons.
Oh,
I don't think there's a lot of Al's Comics out there. That's the one that came right to mind.
Unless it's a really seedy comedy club.
Yeah.
All right, number 3, Pump and Munch. Real or fictional?
Real.
You said real. Yes. Local convenience store
for a good time.
Pump and
Munch. I thought that was one of the tracks, one of the titles from George C. Scott's Hardcore movie.
Was it lighty-hearted there? You know it. I mean, he was so angry in that movie, but his daughter wasn't. Anyway, moving on.
I know, can't blame him. Number 4, Los Pollos Hermanos.
Oh, brother. Which means?
It means the Chicken Brothers.
Not real.
Oh.
That's correct. Fiction.
Bingo.
That's from Breaking Bad.
Nice.
Gus Fring.
Mm-hmm.
His chicken chain. I had the T-shirt back in the day. Los Pollos Hermanos T-shirt. That's pretty strong.
All right, 2 more. Number 5, Satriel's Pork. Satriel's Pork.
Not real.
Correct. That's from The Sopranos. That's where they would hang out with the big piggy on the sign.
Hesh, my dad always loved you, but still, come on.
Hesh. For Hesh. And one more for you.
Uncle June. Hesh is a good guy. Come on. What's this tribute crap?
All right, this is a pretty easy one. Arnold's. Real or fiction?
Not real.
He said not real.
Arnold's Happy Days, of course. A fine hangout for Potsy and
all the gang.
Ralph Balf. All the kids. All right. Well, you did very well.
6 for 6, if memory serves. Strong,
right on,
Wade.
Right on.
You can't slide a fake business past Wade.
No, sir.
Well done, sir. You're sitting in the driver's seat, 6 for 6. Sit tight for a moment, and we'll see what contestant number 2 has up their sleeve. Candace, who is contestant number 2?
Scott from Ham Lake.
Scott, good morning.
Good morning.
Are you ready to play a little getting busy with, what's this game called? Getting busy with it?
Getting down to business.
Getting jiggy with it? Getting down to business. Let's do it.
It's business time.
Throw the hole here.
All righty.
You can do it. Let's start out with an easy one, a little softball. Dunder Mifflin Paper Company. Fiction or real?
Fiction.
Correct.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
From The Office, of course.
That's right.
Number 2, Piggly Wiggly.
Real.
Correct. Based in New Hampshire.
Something so real. They're based in New Hampshire?
Yeah. I didn't know that. I looked her up.
That's a southern. I that's as southern as it gets to
well,
me.
That's where the
Piggly
headquarters
Wigglies
are
in the Midwest.
What's that?
We had Piggly Wigglies in the Midwest.
But do you still have Piggly Wigglies?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
They're they have great swag too. Great Piggly Wiggly T-shirts out there.
Cool.
Yeah.
How many
It's fun to
T-shirts
say.
do you have?
I've over the years, countless, so many.
Number 3, Bluth Original Frozen Banana Stand.
Real.
Oops. That is from the show Arrested Development.
There's always money in the banana stand.
And then you guys followed up with this.
Yes.
Always
Oh,
money in
so
the banana
good.
stand, George.
All right, let's finish it out. 1, 2, 3 more. Chicagoland's Best Beef.
Real.
Sorry, that is from the show The Bear. Well, there, maybe there is a real one.
Well, there is the exterior shots.
Yeah.
There is a place. I don't know what it's called, but I summer before last went and got the beef sandwich there.
Did you?
Yeah, it was outstanding.
Well, this wasn't very well planned at all.
We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and give Scott credit for that one.
All right, yeah. Okay, that's fair is fair, for God's sakes. Number 5, Scoopy Poo.
Fiction.
Sorry, that is real. It's in Edina Pet Waste Removal
Really?
Place. Scoopy Poo.
Scoopy Poo.
Yeah, they come up
Scoopy Poo.
Clean your yard.
What's wrong with you?
Your puppy's mess. All right, so your last one here. The Regal Beagle.
Real.
Sorry, that is from Three's Company.
Real awesome, but not real.
Wow.
Scott, you went 3 for 6. We do appreciate the effort. We're not going to let you leave empty-handed. You've got tickets to see Taking It to the Streets, the Doobie Brothers Tribute Friday at Medina. Thank you, sir. Wade, my man, running the table, goes 6 for 6. Let's hope somebody on the Twins does the same thing tonight. You got tickets to see the Twins and the Mariners. Prize provided, of course, by the Minnesota Twins. Thank you both for playing, fellas. Have a great time.
All right, you too. Thanks a lot.
You got it.
It was kind of clunky and dopey. Sorry.
No, well,
Tomorrow.
Yeah, you should have been here when you weren't here.
Tomorrow, beat the toaster, baby.
You should have been here when you weren't here.
What were some of the dopey games?
A whole
you
lot of
played?
yes or BS.
Okay.
And then I think for the rec, we just did, It, like I said, today was probably one of the better ones.
You go with,
last month.
you go with hat or pen?
We had a series of games that were basically, I now realize we were projecting our anger at you for disappearing.
Yes.
There was what's your problem, dude?
Yeah.
That was rough. We were aggressive.
Yeah, we had one just called Fight About It, where we'd put them on the line at the same time, and they would just start arguing with each other until someone gave up.
We had one called we had a game. This got a lot of great feedback. It was called "What Are You on the Rag" or something. That was a good one. that went over really well.
That was my idea.
Oh, God.
And we dare not say no.
Oh God, yeah. Trust me.
Sure,
We were like,
Candace, whatever you want.
it's one of those days when Candace walks in and we immediately all just get out of the way. It was one of those days.
As you should every day.
As we should every day. That's very true. It's funny looking back on it's National Teacher Day.
Yeah.
And we have great memories, and then we've got some weird memories. There was a few people texting on the KQ Talking text line 651-99-ROCK. My darkest moment with a teacher, I think, was 10th grade when Mr. Hinson, who was teaching us physics, threatened me. Like literally said, "I'll bounce you out of here on your ear, Gorman." He got in my face.
What'd you do?
I made fun of him because he was stewed at school. He was drunk.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was drunk. I just knew there was something wrong with him.
Right.
And then you find out after the fact. Going through a tough divorce, having a rough time. And he and I didn't necessarily get along to begin with, but we were in a class. He taught physics and other general science classes. All I remember is this: he had a beaker filled with like water or something, and then he put some zinc tablets into it to watch a reaction, right? So picture like just a big beaker on a table, zinc in the bottom, pours something into it, who knows what, and then it's all bubbling. There's a little chemical reaction. And he had already been sort of, again, in real time, he just doesn't compute that I think Mr. Hinson's drunk. You don't think that. You're just like, what's going on with him? He's kind of slurring a little, and he's kind of goofy. And then he decided to fish out the little zinc with his hand, and he just placed his hand into the beaker, and the water displacement, so the water just comes flowing out because he shoved his whole hand.
Yeah,
and
displacement,
yeah. And so instead of removing his hand, he just held it in there and was going, it's spilling all over the table.
Someone's having a nervous breakdown.
And that's when we all went, wait, something's going on. And I was like, it sure is, Mr. Hinson. Anything else you want to share with us? And made a comment like that. And he snapped out of that. And he goes, Gorman, you get out of this classroom. I'll throw you out of this school on your ear.
That's hilarious.
And I said something like, that'd be a neat trick.
Right.
And man, he was not a big guy. I was already in 10th grade bigger than him, but still, I'm 15, and he's an adult who's drunk and getting divorced. He could have kicked my ass 6 ways to Sunday. And he put a finger up and right in my chest, and that's when I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is getting bad. And I walked right out of the classroom. I said, all right, I'll leave. And it was right next to the office. And I walked right into the office, and I was like, Mr. Baker, the principal, I'm like, I need to see Mr. Baker here for a minute. We got a little problem. And I walked in, and you ever have that experience when you're a high schooler, I guess? And I remember very clearly thinking, okay, this is a time to be a young adult. Because this is clearly a real serious situation. I don't know what's going on.
Step up.
But I'm not going to be hysterical. I'm not going to be weird. I'm going to go in. I said, Mr. Baker, I just got thrown out of Mr. Hinson's class, and I think something's wrong with him. He's like, what are you talking about? I told him what happened, and he's like, well, okay, sit here, hang on. He gets up and leaves, goes in there. Immediately, he walks in, takes one look at the guy, and is like, come with me, Jeff, and pulls him out of the room, and they move on. And I really felt pretty good about myself. I was like, man, that's
I took
a
down
good
a teacher
job.
today.
I took down a teacher, and I did it and I wasn't being snarky, not to the headmaster. I was rational. I was mature. I kept it all in, and I felt pretty good about it. And then, but I'm sitting in Mr. Baker's office for a while. Like he forgot I was in there, and I didn't know what to do. And so I'm like, so do I leave
go
now?
through his desk. You see if the safe is open.
Yeah, like I didn't know that he had gone in and pulled Hinson out of the room.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there waiting for further instruction. And like 30 minutes go by, and then he comes in, he goes, the hell are you still doing in here? And I was like, I didn't know where to go. And he's like, go back to class. I'm like, why?
I'm going to bounce you out on your ear.
Yeah,
back
I'm
to
like,
being
what's been happening? And it all flipped on me.
You're
and
not
then I
a
was
hero
like,
anymore.
Man, so much for helping out.
Right.
trying to fix things around here.
Trying to fix things around here.
Just doing my part as a self-respecting student, for crying out loud. But otherwise, but Hinson came back better than ever later. It was all water under the bridge.
I thought this was going to end with him hanging himself in a cheap hotel. No divorce and thrown out of his own class.
Well, I shouldn't say no. That could have happened. I don't know. But you know what did happen?
Still holding a beaker.
You know what did happen? He did the right thing. The following summer, he bought a motorcycle.
Yes.
And he went up to like Nova Scotia and rode all the way across to like Vancouver and then came back. He did a cross-Canadian summer trip on a motorcycle.
Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance.
Spiritual sojourn.
And he came back to start the next school year and seemed like he put it all behind him.
That's motorcycle buying right there. You sell your motorcycle when you get married and you buy one when you get divorced. That's a boy.
That makes perfect sense.
It does. How about Mr. Skunkberg? I love it when teachers have colorful names. Olaf, what is it?
Olaf Otterness.
Olaf Otterness. Rich on the KQ Facebook post, 10th and 11th grade, Mr. Skunkberg, photography 1 and 2, White Bear Lake High School.
Come on.
Rule of thirds. Yeah, getting a shout out on National Teacher Day today. My sister is also a teacher. She's a coach, track coach, and phys ed teacher. So you know what they say. Was that School of Rock? Those who can't do, teach, and those who can't teach, teach Jim. I love to quote that one to her.
That's great.
Yeah, she gives me that polite, over-the-top laugh. Oh, Brian.
That is great.
You're a DJ. Shut up. You're like 4 social levels below a teacher. So she reminds me.
That is outstanding. Here's something you don't get to say every day. Oh, we're going to chat with Jane Seymour. By the way, I wish everybody could have seen Tony Lee's face. He just closed his eyes and went, That was great. Yeah.
I am looking at a picture of her from 1974 and 2022. I'm just saying, this woman has aged very well.
She's saucy.
She's got a new movie called Ruby's Choice. She plays a woman dealing with the early onset of dementia, and you know don't normally say this about films like that. She looks amazing, to your point. And I'm not saying like, oh, she's so hot. I'm just saying what a truly beautiful woman who, to your point, Zep, looks just as good at 70 whatever she is than she did at 20 whatever she was. Yeah. All this to say, Jane Seymour is with us on the KQ Morning Show discussing the new film Ruby's Choice. So hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Tuesday, May the 7th. In a few minutes, Jane Seymour is going to join us on the show. She has a new film being released. It is called Ruby's Choice. And man, we just watched the trailer. It looks great. Jane Seymour, of course, a part of my life since 1973 when she was Solitaire in Live and Let Die. Still wildly busy. She was in the Lindsay Lohan Netflix film Irish, what was it called? Irish Wish?
Yes.
That just came out last month. And still doing TV work in the BBC. She's on Harry Wild on Acorn TV and BBC America. All this to say, just working as hard as ever, and a lovely woman, and I look forward to chatting with her.
She looks younger than Lindsay Lohan.
She actually does. Well, she's... I know which one I'd rather, get stuck in an elevator with. And if you are stuck in an elevator, hopefully, if you are stuck in an elevator, you find yourself with a lot of gas. Because wouldn't that be fun?
Sure, ideal.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where you want to leave that.
I can't fart quietly. All of mine at least make some sort of noise. Really? Yeah, I just can't get away with it. No.
Well, that's fine. That's probably a sign of something you're doing right.
I don't know. Yeah, I just, but yeah.
Do you chew gum? Are you a gum chewer?
No.
I love
not
gum.
Really.
Not a big gum guy.
Chewing gum, you do swallow a lot of air while you chew gum, more than normal, and that can make you gassy. If you're chewing gum, a lot of people start chewing gum, just keep that jaw muscle working, want a little more of a refined jawline. Whether that works or not, I don't know. A lot of people seem to think it does. Nope. But at the end of the day, it's gonna give you some more gas.
That's true, and the xylitol in the gum will contribute. Well.
What is xylitol?
It's an artificial sweetener.
Oh, all right. That sounds good for you.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a xylitol that was just played on. What was that song? Moonlight Feels Right with the xylitol solo in the middle of it. Smoking and eating too fast can also do the same thing. Eating too fast, I know for sure.
Yes.
I was in college before I ever realized that I eat way faster than a human needs to.
Yeah.
But that's just growing up at a table full of people. You got to eat fast because as the youngest, I truly every dinner if it didn't matter what it was, if it was spaghetti or fried chicken or grilled cheese or anything, it had to get into my mouth fast because somebody was going to reach across and go, "You're not going to eat that, are you, Stevie?" And just take my food.
Was there even an option with 10 people around the table, perhaps at one time, for seconds?
Yes.
Did Mom have to make that
Imelda
much?
was good with bulk.
Okay. All right.
Flavor, not a priority.
Right. Salt.
Texture, whatever, just take it. But bulk, quantity, there was never not enough.
All
No,
right.
she only made I mean, like when she said let's have spaghetti, trust me, it was boxes of spaghetti.
My mom had some uncanny knack for making just enough to feed, say, 8 people. So there were 5 of us. 3 of us would get leftovers. That was the race. You would just, that first plate,
Right.
you were just making pig noises. You weren't even using utensils.
Well, I was fortunate that one of my brothers, and he happened to be the brother closest to me in age, Doug. He's only 2 years older. He was so he would get very nervous. My dad was a clean your plate guy. Like you had to finish everything.
Oh, yeah.
And he was very, my dad was the guy. If your fork smacked into the plate too loud, it was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
I mean, the weirdest things could set him off. And Doug grew up just at the dinner table really stressed. Therefore, he wasn't hungry and he wouldn't eat. And so
That's horrible.
It was terrible. And I mean, like, you see pictures of my brother. He's like, and he had the growth spurt in 8th grade. He was 6'4" and weighed I'm not kidding, 115 pounds. He was the skinniest.
Wow.
And then like my dad would leave and he'd be like, oh, I'll just go make a triple-decker PB&J with banana slices on toast and wolf it down. He'd eat 60 Oreo cookies at a setting. But around the table, if my dad was there, the guy couldn't get a bite down.
Oh my gosh.
And so as a kid, I was like, well, this is cool. I mean, if Dad's in a bad mood, I'm going to get half a Doug's stew. This will
So
be
you're
great. This will be
antagonized
great
him.
for me.
I got the seat next to Doug.
That's what it was. And again, we called my dad the Duck. His name was Donald. Don. Never to his face. He didn't know that's what we called him. And it was funny that Donald Duck was that's the guy. But it was like our sense of humor because he was kind of a scary dude. So we were like, man, what's going on with the Duck today?
That's great.
And you never said it like, hey, the Duck. It was like,
no.
the Duck. And my friends in high school, everyone was like, what's up with the Duck? I mean, it was like that
That's
word
awesome.
it was almost like saying the Don, as in like mafia. What is the Don here? Is the Duck here? That was our thing.
I'm thinking of the movie Unforgiven. Remember Gene Hackman's character?
Yes.
It was like the Duke.
Curly.
I forget.
Curly Joe or Little Joe?
No, but remember he was the Duke of. They had written that little book about him, and it was the English actor. I'm not placing his name. A man called Horace. What was it? The famous English
Richard
actor?
Harris.
Thank you, Richard Harris. And he was the Duke of gunfighting or something.
Yeah.
He kept calling him the Duck. He's like, no, it's Duke. He goes, yeah, the Duck.
Yeah, the Duck. That's right. Not a man called Horse. It's a man called Horse.
Yes.
If memory serves.
Freaky movie.
Yeah, it really was a freaky movie. So,
the Duck, finish your plate. Dad was an absolute finish your plate, but he was also I'm going to watch TV now because I'm done eating, and Mom was let's sneak it out of the dining room.
Oh, sure.
So you just had to wait it out till Dad left, and then you might be able to pass on some of those lima beans.
Yeah, real Brady Bunch moment in our house came when my mom discovered my brother Jim's pockets just full of peas. He didn't want to eat the peas, but he was
saving them for
somehow
later.
getting them from his plate into the pockets of his jeans.
Wow,
Funny,
that's
like Napoleon
impressive.
Dynamite with tots.
And then he forgot to empty them before laundry, and we just threw it in the hamper. And my mom digging through the pockets of all of her,
Oh,
many children.
Handful of peas.
Handful of old mushy green peas from 3 days earlier. Yeah, that was a standard thing. The other greatest thing Jim ever did, just the craziest thing. He's sitting there. He's whatever. It might have been peas. It was something else. But every one of us has a different memory based on where we were sitting at the table. But he had a bite of something, and he just did right away. He was like, "I don't like this." And he just kind of looked around, and clearly my dad wasn't there because he would have never done this. And our dog, Rusty, was just sitting right next to Jim. And he looked over at Rusty, and he just put his hands on his face. He opened his mouth, and he spit all of his food into the dog's mouth like a mama bird feeding a baby bird.
Funny.
And, of course, Rusty was like, sweet. Thanks,
Yeah,
man. He
nice.
just wolfed it down. It was people food.
Pre-chewed. I love it.
And
Being served.
I might have. That was probably the first time in my life I remember thinking I might might literally die from laughing so hard right now. That might do it. He just did in one motion, just come here. And the dog's happy, he's happy, and I was just beside myself.
That's problem solving right there.
That was absolutely problem solving right there. Oh, by the way, also wearing really tight jeans absolutely makes you gassier. Tight clothing, yeah.
Well, I mean, that just makes it sounds like one of those things you would say and someone would debunk it. But
it can prevent things moving through the digestive tract the way they should. I am thrilled to change the subject now because on the KQ Morning Show, Jane Seymour joins us. Jane, it is an absolute pleasure to speak with you. Good morning.
Good morning.
You've been a part. We've been discussing this all morning. You've just been doing your thing, but that thing has been a part of all of our lives for almost as long as we remember. Going back for me personally to Live and Let Die as a kid, and I do want to ask you one question about that experience. Being in a Bond film. You'd made movies before, but that's really, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what kind of broke you worldwide. Was that in any way overwhelming at the time? Because you were still kind of a kid at that time.
It was pretty overwhelming. I was 20 when I started the film and 22 by the time it came out. Fortunately for everyone, my mentor and actually father-in-law was Richard Attenborough. Lord Attenborough, who was this great actor and also great film director. Of
course.
And he gave me very sound advice. And he said, the day you believe in your own publicity, you're dead. And so I didn't let it go to my head, and nor did anyone around me. And you know, the great thing about doing a Bond film is that everyone knows who you are. The not so good part is they assume that that's all you're capable of, that you can run 3 paces behind a man with a gun, wearing high heels. And so it took me a few years to get back to showing people that I actually was a classically trained actress, and it probably gave me the incentive to really do some of the material that I did, to always show that it was not about how I looked. It was about my craft.
Right. Sure. Well, I was thinking as you said that's a heck of a motivator right there. And you have been crazily busy. I mean, excuse me, as we're just looking over the list of credits. I mean, I remember most of the just about everything I see here. I'm like, oh yeah. And it's kind of almost overwhelming to recognize that and realize, we're talking about 50 years. You seem to be someone who's still just looking ahead, though. You don't ever sit back and think back and rest on your laurels, clearly.
Well, no, but, how fortunate am I? And most actresses, if you make it at all, by the time you're 40, you're done. Well, at 40, I got Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, having had the most amazing, career before that. But for reasons of a divorce and losing all my money, I had to take a job, any job, and it turned out to be that. Well, that opened the gates to do all kinds of other material. And then now, at 70, I have my own series called Harry Wild, which is now playing all over the world. That doesn't happen. And my agent laughed at me. He said, you're the only client I have that's working all the time. And that was during COVID. And this film, Ruby's Choice, that's coming out now that we're talking about, this was made during full COVID. I was imprisoned literally for 2 weeks in a room in a hotel with armed guards with machine guns before I ever got to start that movie in Sydney. I mean, they took this stuff very seriously, and this was what I was doing during COVID while everyone else was hiding in their homes.
Jane Seymour is with us on the KQ Morning Show. The new film, Ruby's Choice, or it's new to U.S. audiences anyway. We've just seen the trailer, but it's beautiful. It looks wonderful. I mean, just beautifully shot. But it's quite a story. You play a grandmother battling what looks to be, I guess, early stages of dementia from what I've seen. Was this a script? Was this a script that immediately just jumped out at you? What was your involvement? How did it come to pass?
Well, I was offered it, and I read it, and I went, oh, my gosh. I mean, if they can make this movie as well as it's written, I'm in. And I felt that I wanted to play her because 2 of my uncles died of Alzheimer's and dementia. And I'd also done the documentary about Glenn Campbell called I'll Be Me, which I produced. So I've been really around the subject. And I felt that especially in my own situation with my aunt and uncle. My aunt died 20 years before her husband, my uncle, who had dementia, died because she wouldn't accept any help. She felt that she, as the wife, should take care of him. And it really kills the caregiver. I mean, literally, it's really hard to be the caregiver. And I think what's important in this movie is you get to see what the stages are and how, at first, oh, well, she's a bit old. Oh, well, she forgets things. Oh, that's normal for her age. And then suddenly she's burnt the house down. And then suddenly, the pets are dying when she's living at your house. And you said, all you have to do is feed the fish. Well, she's forgotten she's fed the fish. So she feeds the fish 10 times. And the fish is dead. And so, but what's beautiful about this movie is she actually, in her past, manifests these sort of nightmares where her granddaughter is listening to things and realizing she's talking to her husband as if she was a 20-year-old. And she finds out all kinds of family secrets that the rest of the family don't even know. And she somehow inadvertently heals everyone in the family and brings joy and laughter and love and compassion and solution. And the ultimate solution is Ruby's choice, where she chooses how she wants to spend the rest of her life. So it's an incredibly moving and beautifully done film. The actors they're Australian and they're brilliant. And we shot this literally on a budget in COVID in Sydney. And I'm just so proud that it's come out here now in America. It won lots of awards in Australia. But it's a very powerful movie. If you've ever met anyone or ever been touched by this subject, it is a must-see film. And if you just want to be entertained and moved to tears, it's also a must-see film.
Jane Seymour is with us on the KQ Morning Show. The film Ruby's Choice, it's available, set for demand today, May 7th, DVD at major online retailers, and you can track it down as of today, May 7th. And another thing I think that's probably worth mentioning is, obviously, you're looking at the story of Ruby's dementia through several different generations of the women in this family.
Yes. I mean, her daughter just... controls everything in the house, and she thinks she's, that her mother's just, forgetting a few things. She cannot wrap her head around the real diagnosis, and when she hears the diagnosis, she's in a deep quandary of, but she's my mom. I can't put her in one of those awful homes, and I can't give up on her, and there must be something we can do. And of course, they don't have any money. They're living on a shoestring anyway, so it's really hard to get help. So they have to decide: do I take the granddaughter out of school and have her look after the grandmother? Well, that's not very fair on a teenager, especially a teenager who's an excellent student, and what's that going to do to her life? So all the elements of how do you deal with Ruby? How do you deal with someone in your home who's going down this rabbit hole, and how do you have a life, and how do you communicate? And do you tell her that you told her 10 times already that her husband's dead? Or don't you? Because you realize that when you do tell her, no, he died 5 years ago, she's in shock. This is for her the first time she's ever heard that her husband, that she believes is going to come in any minute, back from work, is never going to come back. And so she goes through the grieving process. And so, do you tell them the truth? No, you don't. You have to tell white lies. And how do you do that? How do you deflect? And how can you connect to them in the present? And the way you connect with them in the present is through art, through music, through dance, through those kind of experiences, touching, feeling, listening, hearing, laughing. That's what you can do. And when I did the movie with Glenn Campbell called I'll Be Me, the documentary, no one could believe that he would be able to get up on stage and sing and play brilliantly when he didn't even know in his own house where the bathroom was.
Wow. Like you said earlier, anybody who's experienced this with a family member or a loved one is going to see this film if they do, and they're going to recognize so much of it. It's all going to feel so familiar. I knew and forgot that you were one of the producers of the Glenn Campbell documentary. That is an incredibly beautiful, very well done. My gosh, that had to have been quite an experience to spend time with him.
That was an incredible experience, and I'm still very close to the Campbell family, which is lovely. I also, little known thing people don't know is that Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash gave me and my husband James Keach the rights to their life, which ended up being Walk the Line. So I'm often behind the camera, not always credited the way I'd like, but definitely working on it for 11 years and there while we were shooting. But I also just did a short called And You Are, again, about dementia, but a whole other take on it. But, Ruby's Choice is the reason I'm here today, and I'm really proud of it. I'm also very excited that as an actress, at my age, I'm getting to play some of the best roles in my life. I also have a series called Harry Wild that's the third season is dropping very soon, and that is playing all over the world. So I feel as a baby boomer that I am representing, our journey.
Yeah.
If you're so lucky enough to be alive and working as I am and healthy, to be able to tell the stories of our generation.
Jane Seymour.
And, 1 in 2 of us over 70 will have dementia or Alzheimer's at the moment, which is really frightening. So I think it's important to at least understand the subject.
For sure. I know you've got to bounce. I would be remiss if I did not mention I had one wonderful evening in late 1993 where I had a couple drinks with Christopher Reeve. And I mentioned to him, I said, I got to ask you one movie question. And he braced for Superman. And I said, no. Somewhere in time, when I was a kid, that was on in my house all the time. And he just looked at me and I said, as was the case, I said, man, I'm still in love with Jane Seymour from that movie. And he said, yeah, who isn't? And we toasted you. And it always meant the world to me because he lit up like a Christmas tree at the mention of your name and at that film. And he said he had the best time. And he goes, that's my favorite experience I ever had working. And I looked at him and I, of course, never thought in a million years I'd be able to tell you that. But here we are. And that was a great night for me.
And that you just made my day and my life. And Chris Reeve and I fell madly in love during that movie. And we remained really close until the day he died.
Oh.
And, and I became very close with his wife, with Dana. Mm-hmm. He was a remarkable man. And yes, that was the most magical experience I ever had on a movie.
Oh, well, okay. Now we're all got tears in our eyes. Thank you for that. And Jane, thank you for the time and all the best with Ruby's Choice. And, of course, Harry Wild on Acorn TV and BBC America. 3rd season's up now. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
See ya.
So,
How about
and
that?
she's clear, you just gave Jane Seymour an interview orgasm. You made her life.
You stud.
All of she's done in her life, you just made it.
I don't. She just said she and Christopher Reeve fell madly in love. I didn't know that part of it.
Yes.
I don't think she was saying that like kidding. I think she was dead serious. The way she
yeah.
said that.
No. Well, that's
look at them.
sometimes
They were
that's
both beautiful in the prime of their lives. Of course,
Yeah.
they were going at it like mad. And then they brought the wife in.
We were when my boy, go figure. What an adult situation that was. I was in LA for in the fall of '93 and early '94 making the Black Crowes' 3rd album.
Yeah.
We were in LA for months, and I was at a hotel, and for about a week, Christopher Reeve was in the room next to me.
Yeah.
And so I saw him a couple times in the hallway.
That's awesome.
Hey, what's up, man? He'd be like, hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? Hey, what's up, man? Hey, and we would always just I was coming in at 6 a.m. and he was leaving at 6 a.m. That's what it was, or vice versa. We kept, every time I was getting back, he was leaving, and we would laugh about it. And he was like, we had said hi. I told him what I did, and he's like, man, we are living different lives. I'm like, yeah, it seems that way. Well, one night I was in early and I went to the hotel bar, which was the original whiskey bar, this whole thing in West Hollywood. But he was sitting there and I just wait. He goes, hey, let's finally have we keep bumping into each other.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. And sat down and we had a drink. And then it was in the middle of that 30 minutes just hanging there in a really quiet bar. And I said, all right, screw it, man. I got to ask. Let me get a couple movie questions out of the way. And he goes, yeah, I was strung up for, he immediately went into a Superman, like an anecdote. And I go, no, man, no. Somewhere in time when I was a kid, and he literally goes, "Oh my God, man, he goes, I can talk about that movie forever. That was the greatest experience." He did not say Jane and I were in love or anything like that. But I mean, at one point we toasted to Jane Seymour, and I was like, "Yeah, this is cool."
That was a lovely movie. Cool concept.
Yeah, that's an awesome story if you're on a date with a chick. But I can't believe you didn't ask him about what Somewhere in Time. I'm watching the trailer. I can't even get through the trailer except there's Jane Seymour.
When high school, like probably 9th grade, and it's on HBO, when HBO had 4 movies, so it played 3 times a day. That's what it was. You just watch it once, then it's on again, then it's on again, and then you're just like, okay, I hope he doesn't look at the penny this time. No! Yeah, that's how it all goes.
Did he look at the penny?
He looked at the damn penny and ruined everything.
And Superman. Well, who couldn't remember her in Wedding Crashers? Remember that?
Yeah, that's what I like.
That's
think of.
right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was like, yes, that would definitely be a Mrs. Robinson moment I would adore. But yeah, East of Eden, that was the one my mom we had to watch when I was a kid. East of Eden, I think it was a mini-series.
Makes sense.
You know, it was a Steinbeck novel or whatever. They made a mini-series, and I was like, I don't want to watch, because it was family time. We all watched the same thing together, and Mom, every once in a while, got her way, and I'm like, I don't want to watch. Who's that? Jane Seymour.
Jane Seymour. Hey, reminder, you can stream 92KQRS on your phone. You can listen anywhere you go. Search 92KQRS for our newly updated app at the App Store. Or you can simply look at your smart speaker and say, hey, man, play 92KQRS. We make it easy for you. The best basketball team on planet Earth. They're a little closer than you may think. They're right here in the Twin Cities. We're going to discuss the Timberwolves and their dominance thus far and a few other things. You know, some fart stories, some poo stories, some pee stories, the usual. That's coming up soon. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Tuesday, May the 7th. Led Zeppelin's Rock and Roll, a song that was written in the studio in the middle of trying to record a different song. The band was working on 4 Sticks from Led Zeppelin 4. Yeah. So-called because Bonzo had 2 sticks in each hand. And it's in a very bizarre time signature, and it's just a weird tune. And John Bonham was struggling to get it right. And so just in a burst of frustration, he just started blasting away at a drum part from an old Little Richard song. Little Richard had a song called Keep a Knockin', and the great drummer Charles Connor played the drum intro. Little Richard, it is 2024, and the world's still waiting for somebody to come around and top him.
Oh, man. I mean, we were talking one morning about the greatest rock and roll singer, and maybe was it John Lennon or Paul McCartney or some of these other British Invasion guys, and man, I always am going to make that vote Little Richard, vocalist. I mean, when I just talk about raw energy and just bringing it, and a guy that heavily influenced the Beatles, by the way,
time.
Early stuff, played with them in Hamburg over there, his band. But yeah, that's Little Richard gets my vote every time because no one argues with me.
No, only anyone that doesn't know of what they speak for sure. Little Richard. Think about, like, you can see him now, but imagine seeing that in the late 50s, early 60s. I mean, that is, I look at him and I see old clips of Chuck Berry, and the same thought always occurs to me. Like, kids in those eras must have been like, a spaceship just landed.
Oh, can you imagine?
And this guy showed up to show us how we should now live. And they're from the coolest planet ever. Like they don't seem like real to me.
Yeah, Paul McCartney said once upon a time, he said the best band he ever saw, a rock and roll band. He goes, Little Richard's band.
Yeah,
I think Preston was in that band as well. But can you imagine being those guys fresh out of Liverpool? They hadn't made it big yet. They were still learning their instruments. Yeah. And Little Richard breezes through town. Hey, going to open for Little Richard tonight, and then sitting down in real time. They hadn't seen any video. They heard some 45s were all. Yep. And this comes on stage. Holy woo.
Hard to imagine. I got, in 1990, I got onto an elevator at the Hyatt Hotel, the Riot House on Sunset Boulevard. In West Hollywood. Chris Robinson and I got onto the elevator, and then somebody said, hang on, and the door opened up, and Little Richard stepped on because he lived there. And we just looked at him, and the two of us, and we were like,
Hi.
and he had a very large bodyguard with him. and the door shut, and he turned around and he said, "Y'all must be in a band."
Oh, cool.
And we were like, we are, Mr. Richard.
Oh, my.
And Chris said, we're from Georgia. We're from Atlanta, Georgia. And he said, well, what's the band called? And he said, the Black Crowes. And Richard goes, you do that Otis Redding song. Y'all sound so good on that. Nice. He goes, you boys are on the right track. Keep going. And he just gave us this little pep talk. And then the door opened, and we had to get off. And I was like, can we come to your floor, please, Mr. Little Richard? Can we just continue to talk and look at you and freak out? And we got off, and the door shut, and he went up to his rooftop penthouse, wherever he lived, and we just stared at each other like, did that actually just happen?
Wow.
Because the energy in that man in a little elevator, he's just, before he said a word, it's like you feel it like a current coming off of him.
Yeah.
And he's dressed like Little Richard. It's not like he's in sweats, you know what I mean? And we're just like, holy crap. And 10 years later, we performed at the Kennedy Center Honors for the Chuck Berry induction, and he was part of that. And that guy walked into the rehearsal room and said hello to everybody, and he looked over at Robinson and said, y'all from the Black Crowes, you won't remember this. We met on an elevator 10 years ago.
You won't remember this.
And
what's your name again? Little what?
And
Wayne?
Chris and I looked at each other, and Chris goes, yeah, it was me and Steve. He goes, yeah, you boys, I tell you what, you did Otis Redding so proud. He was like my little brother, and every time I hear that, I love those Black Crowes, and we're just staring at him like,
goosebumps there.
Oh my God, I have him right now telling the story. We were like,
so cool.
You don't think we remember seeing you in an elevator? What are you kidding?
What a presence.
He had a like radiation level gamma ray glow. Just spectacular.
Not remembering the documentary. It just came out in the last year or two. It's out there. Little Richard documentary. Very quickly come up. I forget where it's streaming. You want to watch it.
Yeah.
You do.
And by the way, that same day after that at the Kennedy Center things, he sat down at a grand piano because he was talking about Otis Redding to us, and then he started playing and singing Otis's song, These Arms of Mine.
Oh,
and he sang it as Otis Redding. By which I mean, he literally does an Otis Redding that sounded, if you had your eyes closed, I swear to God, you would have thought it was Otis Redding. Mm-hmm. Their voices, you would not think they don't sound alike.
No.
He channeled Otis Redding and started singing it, These Arms of Mine. And everyone in the room, which is a lot of people, you could have heard a pin drop other than what he did. And he went through the form like twice, and then he stopped. He goes, y'all don't want to hear any more of that. And everybody goes, no. And then he wouldn't do it again because he always knows, leave him wanting more.
Leave him wanting more. By the way, I can't believe I would have forgotten the name of this documentary, Little Richard, I Am Everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Track it down.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. From Little Richard, the arguable greatest of all time, let's talk about the fact that the best basketball team on planet Earth right now, no hyperbole, now, today, the best-looking basketball team on Earth is the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are 10 victories away from an NBA title. But you don't have to wait for them to win 10 games to say that right now they are playing at their best basketball at the perfect time to play your best basketball, which is round 2 against the defending champion Denver Nuggets. A year ago, the best team in the NBA by far was the Denver Nuggets. They coasted through the playoffs, and they ran their way up to the title and had everybody this season talking about it. By everybody, I mean literally, I follow a lot of people in sports media. I'm very into the NBA, and it's just a question of not are they going to repeat, but how many years in a row can the Denver Nuggets win the title?
Yeah.
And for how many seasons will they be in the hunt?
Right.
After 2 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Nuggets are done. There is a fork right in their back.
All right. I'm just hanging on to the back of that bandwagon. You've gotten me back into the Timberwolves excited. Now, I'm watching a team that's so dominant offensively, but defensively.
Incredible.
I haven't seen that at the NBA level. It's like watching a lopsided college game. Mm-hmm. Have they been this good all season? I mean, this is the playoff gear.
What they've done all season is they've had flashes of this. You know, there were signs. I saw a game early in the season. Tony and I went and saw them play the Celtics, who are going to run away with the East, by the way. And they got an overtime win, and it was really exciting. And there were moments in that game when everybody was saying, you're watching the team and you're going, man, if they just tighten the screws, you can see they have what they need.
Yeah.
But it's a team game. It's a chemistry game more than anything. It's not about do you have the right players, but do they play together the right way? And does the coach make the right changes? And how are the rotations? And this team was definitely built to compete with the Denver Nuggets. I mean, by design, the idea was Denver's got Jokic and Jamal Murray. They've got the point guard and the center. They're going to be good for years as long as they augment them with other players. What do we do about that? The Timberwolves got big. They're big as hell. I mean,
yes.
Michael Conley's the only guy under 6'5" that ever sees the court.
That seemed evident last night. They played bigger. They played stronger. They played with more energy and vigor, but they seemed so much bigger in the backcourt. I mean, it just physically, just eyeballing the game, I was like, it did. It seemed like a D1 school coming out and playing a patsy at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, they choked down Jokic and the Nuggets without Rudy Gobert, by the way. They're
Gobert.
Gobert.
Yeah, baby boy.
Hey, go, Bert.
Yeah.
Go, Ernie.
Well, let's hear from him, the Ant-Man last night post-game.
Edwards on top. He'll put up a three. Bullseye.
You know, the game plan, the coaches, you know, we had to switch the game plan up a little bit, but, you know, we executed it, and we came out playing super hard. It's tough, man. You know, he's a defensive player of the year, so it's tough playing without Gobert. But, you know, he sent us a nice text, and, you know, we had his back. He told us to have his back out there tonight, and we had his back. So he'll be happy to see us when we get home.
Can you feel the frustration starting to build for Denver? It's kind of like the Phoenix series when you got them frustrated. Do you feel like Denver's reaching a point too?
No, not at all, man. This is defending champs. It's going to be tough to beat them the third game. You know, they're going to come out ready to play, man. We just got the best of them this game, and it's just one game. It's not the first of two. It's the first of four. So, I mean, we're happy about this win, but we know we got more business to handle on game 3, and Rudy will be back. So, you know, we'll figure it out.
Target Center's been great all season long, and what does it mean to go back now and play in front of our home crowd?
You know, we got the home crowd on our side now. We ain't got to worry about getting booed no more, so we might be better off.
I think it was in the first half, maybe it was the second half, but he gets one lobbed way over, takes it down for an easy, just smash dunk, gives it a big woo. Look at the crowd.
Yeah.
Watch the Denver crowd. Just dead-faced. They look like they're sitting in a jury box, you know, on day 25
when Denver's
trial.
clicking offensively, it's like video game basketball. The ball moves. It doesn't stop moving. Jokic is one of the great passing big men historically ever. They had 35 points in the first half, Denver. The Timberwolves held that team to 35 points and committed 6 fouls. It was a clinical destruction. They dismantled the Denver Nuggets. I'm texting with we're 6 minutes into the first quarter, and my son and I are going, this game's over. Like, what the hell am I watching?
Was it Murray out at point for the
Jamal
Nuggets?
Murray, yeah.
He just fantastic at point, and he just looked like he was beside himself.
He threw that heat pack out of the court.
He threw a heat pack out of the court. He's got a sore case. He's got a dinged up leg. I mean, I get it, but still, you know, he was not feeling great against the Lakers, but but he didn't. He still did exactly what he wanted. That's not happening in this series. The Timberwolves are building it like, you know, this is like 70s NFL. Defense wins championships. Like, they're the best. Think about this. They're the best defensive team in the league by a mile, and they have Anthony Edwards. That is unfair.
So cool.
And they're coming back to Minnesota. Should wrap it up here. I mean, I can't. You see the game last night, and you think the Nuggets can't pick themselves up off the mat on the road, but a hell of a talented team deep in the playoffs here. You think this is a sweep, man?
I think it's certainly, yeah, and I think more than any reason because Jamal Murray he's not able to be himself with that calf, and so the thing the Nuggets did, they needed to lock him down. They needed to lock down Michael Porter Jr. They already gave Jokic a Brinks truck. Where do you pay for that in the depth? They don't have a bench. The Nuggets the Timberwolves are deep, man. Yeah. Gobert's not there. Kyle Anderson comes in, plays great. Naz Reid comes in mostly off the bench. I mean, they're just deep and big.
Who's playing? Who's the other games? Who are they going to? Because, all right, so we're just, I'm just going to go fanboy here.
Yeah.
They get through this series. They're off to the championship.
Dallas is playing Oklahoma City.
That's right. Dallas.
OKC has the number 1 seed in the West, surprisingly, and they're they're the youngest team.
Right.
And they're also a team that, like the next, you know, the West is so much better than the East right now because the Boston Celtics are just going to obliterate anyone in their path. And they don't have a killer's, you know, Jason Tatum's not a killer. Ant has already shown himself to be like, I'm gonna run through or over anybody in my way right now. And defensively, nobody can compete with the Timberwolves. The Celtics are a good team, but they're not this. And I think whoever comes out of the West is going to win. And I do think right now it is going to be Minnesota because Dallas, Luka and Kyrie playing great. That's awesome. They got a 1-2 punch, but that's really as far as it goes. And OKC's great, but they're very, very, very young. And their young superstar Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, he hasn't stepped up the way Ant-Man has. It's like a different level of this is now my time. I'm always as a fan and as just I watch the NBA. I always go. I don't get out of my skis a whole lot because a lot of crazy things can happen. And obviously, everything I'm suggesting is let's as long as we stay healthy. That's the unspoken thing. Of course, the T-Wolves have to stay healthy. If they don't lose any starters, I can't see them, A, losing this series, and then B, I can't see them losing any series right now because when your defense is playing this efficiently and this aggressively, there's just nothing to be done.
Yeah, they're that good.
Yeah. You've been guardedly optimistic about this team. Well, you've been optimistic about them, but you're like, well, they might be a year away. And, they're coming together and they have flashes of brilliance. You've been saying that all season long. So cool to jump on and watch this thing play out, man.
Yeah, that's right, sports. You can just tell the Nuggets, too. Again, to their credit, though, these are the defending champions. And going back-to-back in any sport is real hard. It's just an absolute grind. And so I think I wouldn't be surprised to hear the Nuggets are a little more beat up than they're admitting anyway. That's normally. But, the playoffs, it's a war of attrition. The last guy standing is usually the healthiest guy.
Yeah.
And right now, as far, knock on wood, the T-Wolves are healthy and they are rolling.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Is that enough sports talk, Candace, or do you want to talk a little bit more about the bench?
I find basketball very interesting, way more interesting than football or any other sport because it's so. I feel like it's so. I don't know. It's hard. It seems like it would be so hard. There's so much running.
Yeah, football.
What part of baseball doesn't look hard?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Hang tight.
Okay.
Be right back. The KQ Morning Show.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show, Tuesday, May 7th, which is National Teachers Day. Thank you, teachers. On the KQ Talk and Text line, 651-989-ROCK. I got a text from Randy who says, I want to thank Mrs. Pat Perkins, my second grade teacher, and my dad for getting me interested in being a teacher. Mrs. Perkins moved away, but my mom was able to get her to come to my high school graduation. Unfortunately, we lost contact after that. If she or anybody listening knows or knew her, tell her thank you. My dad taught for 35 years. I plan to come back next year for my 38th year.
Oh, my God. What a coincidence. I'm going to eat over at her place today. Perkins, right over there in...
Yeah, right. Silver Dollar Pancakes.
Yeah.
Thanks for making my mornings enjoyable with your show. Randy, 38 years as a teacher yourself. Wow. Well done, sir.
Boy, that's fighting the good fight, isn't it?
That really is. Very happy to be a part of your morning, Randy, and 38 great years. And to Mrs. Pat Perkins, well done. Way to go.
That's
off.
That's not a teacher name at all. Pat Perkins.
Man,
Mrs. Perkins.
Yeah.
First tour I ever did came across Perkins for the first time. That's not a Southern thing.
No.
And we were off of the Silver Dollar Pancakes. I mean, I still remember it. The Perkins.
I thought that was just a Twin Cities thing. Actually.
Could have been.
I know they were all across.
Now that I'm thinking about it, it was definitely here. We were like, oh, Perkins.
Poikins.
And we all had that voice. We go, Perkins, Silver Dollar Pancakes. Young and drunk and in a van. Good times. Okay, real quick. Don't really, the fishing opens this weekend.
Oh, yeah, big fishing opener this weekend.
Damn straight. Well, check this out from Tejas in Texas, a gentleman who's apparently from Kentucky, his name is Art Weston, state and world record fisherman, went down to Texas to Sam Rayburn Lake, and he reeled in a 200-pound plus alligator snapping turtle. If you want to take a look at just death coming your way, an alligator snapping turtle, it looks like it will just rip you in half just for looking at him sideways. 200-plus pound alligator snapping turtle, and then on the same trip, reeled in a 293-pound alligator gar.
What the hell kind of line is he using? Is that like a cable?
No kidding, an alligator gar, which looks like
gar.
It looks like a giant fish who's part alligator where the mouth is concerned.
Yeah.
I one time reeled in a 5-pound bass.
What? That's a damn good bass.
Took my shoulders out of joint, is what it felt like. I fought that sumbitch for what felt like hours, and it was a 5-pound big ass bass.
Yeah. I feel like that's not that big.
Trust me.
I've seen guys hold bigger ones on dating apps than that in this town.
Wow.
A bass?
Yeah, I think I feel like I've seen like a 10-pounder.
Oh, I don't know about
That's
that.
That's
a largemouth.
Be a world record.
I've caught some crappies
I've seen
and
some big
sunnies.
boys on a Hinge, the dating
They just
app.
hold it far away from their body, right up to the camera lens. Makes it look much bigger. Could be a crappie. I
Okay,
don't know.
first
but
of all,
we do get some much bigger fish here, Candace. You're right. In fact, I was just talking to a couple of guys over the weekend up at the Dirty Rotten Biker Fest that came back from sturgeon fishing up on Rainy Lake up there on the High Line at the border. And those guys were catching, 50, 60-inch sturgeons that were 50, 60 years old. It's kind of a catch and release thing. Yeah, those things are nuts.
How do you know how old they are?
Based on the count the rings.
That's what I was going to say. Well, you just cut them in half and count the rings, right? Candace, the largest largemouth bass caught in Minnesota, if I'm reading this correctly, is 8 pounds 13 ounces.
That's a big boy.
Wow.
Yeah, so easy with telling me you've seen a bunch of 15-pounders out there. The largest ever in Kentucky, 14 pounds, 9.5 ounces.
Yeah, Southeast, that's the big bass.
No, but this thing was literally 5 pounds, and I was expecting like a tiger shark to come out of this pond. I couldn't believe the fight that little sucker had.
We'll have to get you out for some muskie hunting. They don't even call it fishing around here. It's muskie hunting.
Muskie hunting?
They like to go out from 9 p.m. till about 1 a.m. in the morning. You put on your little headlamp and get out there with your 2-pound lure. You haven't lived till you've muskie hunted. But yeah, those a 5-pound bass, that'll give you you always think that too. I always thought that as a kid. Oh my God, here comes a big one. It's a bullhead. And I thought I had like a northern pike on there or something.
Well, I don't know if I'm too old to start, fishing on the regular, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah, we said, hey, we're going to go down for the opener, and Steve's like, let's go shoot some fish.
Yeah, hey, whatever it takes, man. Look, at the end of the day, I will have seen and I will have encountered fish. No, I'm looking very forward to going down to the opener, and maybe we'll look back on that. Maybe in a few years we'll be like, man, remember that when he just started fishing and then we never saw him again?
Yeah, that was it.
Like it could become a new obsession, or it could be that next big thing that didn't quite happen.
I need to go fishing. I like the real early morning fishing. You know, if you're like at a friend's cabin and then you guys all wake up together, before the sun, rises and you go out there on the boat. It's just, that is cool. The nice big canteen of coffee.
The best
that is nice. That is nice.
Folgers in you. That is nice. You're right. Mornings on the lake. I like evenings too, but that's the best fishing out in the morning. But you're right. And it's like glass. The lake is so calm.
No, Candace, you just painted a beautiful picture. I can see us at the cabin. Sunrise to the east, and we're pouring those thermoses full of coffee, and we get out and on the boat, and we just slowly paddle out. It's like glass, and then you pull out your boombox and put on your Black Sabbath tape.
And we shoot heroin.
Yeah. Candace starts lighting dynamite sticks and throwing them in the water.
Fish love Sabbath. Trust me. I promise you.
They've got that beat. You ever had a thumper box? We use those out in South Dakota for the panfish. But yeah, it's a box that's just a little wooden knocker.
What does it do?
Brings in the fish, apparently, according to Dad.
They want to see who's at the door?
Yeah, right. You want to get that?
Well, it's like
that Black Sabbath. You get the right song going. It might be like a thumper box.
Well, it's like that Simpsons episode when Lisa plays the badass thumping bass and gets all the snakes to come in off the vibrations.
Yeah.
Remember?
Right.
The Pied Piper for snakes?
Yeah.
By going full Barry White bass tone going. No, I don't know if fishing is going to become my new big obsession, but it does remind me. I just saw a list of things that were all hyped as the next big thing, but it didn't quite happen. Remember Olestra?
Oh
yeah.
Olestra, the fat substitute.
Well, isn't that? It didn't. It happened, but then that
caused explosive diarrhea.
Happened, and
think about a brand name that is associated with those two words together forever. Not diarrhea, but explosive diarrhea.
Oh yeah.
The marketing guys at Olestra are like, oh my God, we're the explosive diarrhea company. There's no coming back from this.
I had a coworker friend who was taking it at the time and had lost a bunch of weight, and she looked fantastic.
Yeah.
And there was this explosive diarrhea thing as a result of it, and she's like, that's okay, don't take it away. I'm like, I'm pretty sure the FDA is going to take it away. She was trying to stockpile it or get more more of it.
The
It was an
only way to
additive. It was an additive in chips.
Yeah, it
that's
was.
the chips.
Yeah,
The only way to
chips.
come back from it would be, and again, this is going back to the old days, sell it to Spencer Gifts as a gag gift.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It's like the chewing gum that makes your teeth black, or the golf ball that explodes.
Yes.
Hey, want some of these
Well, sometimes
chips?
you need to have explosive diarrhea. Sometimes it's
Keeps you
necessary.
regular. When I had my Parasite, I had more women making jokes about, and where did you drink that water where you got the parasite? Because I had lost a lot of weight. I was thinking of Fen-Phen. That was the prescription weight thing that they found out gave you heart attacks. And that's what she wanted. She wanted to keep her Fen-Phen. I said, yeah, I think people are dropping because of heart attacks as a result of it. A risk I'm willing to take. I'm like, all right, easy.
Oof. Yeah, I do remember
Olestra, yeah.
Oh,
excuse me.
Lord, help us.
Just talking about
That
Olestra.
sounds familiar.
Memories.
Oh my God.
Candace just started to get out of her chair when you did that. She's like, oh, wait, that wasn't me.
I just immediately went to the scene in this movie where there's a power outage, it's pitch black, and someone farts, and Candace is like, Tony? Is that you?
I loved how you did the fart noise right before Jane Seymour came.
Yes,
Yeah, it was a little
there
too
was
close.
a pause there. I went, we're going to
Right when I connected her on the board, it was like.
Yeah, that was nice.
Sophisticated woman.
The most sophisticated, beautiful English actor of all time, Jane Seymour, joins us on the KQ fart and text line.
That was a wet one, too, as I recall.
We spoke with Jane Seymour. What we're referencing, if you're just joining us, Jane Seymour was on the show earlier. Yeah, Jane Seymour, and we're 4 for 4 on just lifelong crushes on Jane Seymour. I think it's safe to say, and she was lovely to chat with. The KQ morning show is available on podcast whenever you want it. If you want to catch up and see what Jane Seymour's up to, feel free to go find that bad boy and listen. That was Candace, like a week ago, sent me the email like, hey, do you want Jane Seymour on the show? And I was like, I think I wrote back in all caps, duh. Yes, we want to talk to Jane Seymour whenever that is at all possible. Has anybody here ever ridden on a Segway, the two-wheel, Mall of America cop vehicle?
Right over there in your neck of the woods, they used to have those Segway tours. But
they still have it?
Oh, yeah, but I didn't do the tour. I have a buddy that worked over there that did the tours. I'm like, I'm not getting on with a bunch of people. He's like, just come on over, and he let me go pull
How is
around
it?
on
I've
one.
never done one.
Oh, it was fun. I enjoyed it, yeah. It's no Harley.
Do people ever crash them? Do you fall? Are they easy to maintain?
I'm sure they do. I didn't.
You had you hopped on it, figured it out pretty quick.
I just took my time, went a little easy. Even the cobblestone was easy enough over there on Main Street.
Dorky. It
is.
Reminds me of Paul Blart, the mall guy.
Right, that's right.
This was after Paul Blart too, and I was very aware that there was no way to do this and look cool, but it was a good way to zip around town a little bit. I think
we watched that movie with the kids, and the only thing
that movie.
It was it was funny, but for years after, anytime somebody was, coming clean about something, my kids would have to throw in, but don't you judge me, Paul Blart.
Well, you were talking about the next big thing. When they first came out, they said that was going to change transportation across the land.
I fully expected to have one.
Stupid.
I know.
I feel like Europe's looking at America like, anything you can create that you don't have to do any physical exercise at all.
That's exactly right. That one didn't exactly take off. I do. Did you ever see the documentaries over the last few years about Theranos? Remember the Elizabeth Holmes company, the Silicon Valley company, the whole fraud about the blood testing thing? Whoever was doing her PR, she became like overnight the second most famous person to Steve Jobs from Silicon Valley, and then she had the black turtleneck and she talks in that weird voice, and then
those crazy eyes,
and then it turned out like it was all nonsense. What a grifter, man! What a scam!
Yeah.
And she's in prison now?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. I forget what she got sentenced for, but that was big. Yeah, but that was big time.
She went to the wrong group of old white billionaire men and fleeced them. If you're going to steal from poor people. They don't catch you as easily. Don't steal from billionaires. They keep receipts, man. They will bust your ass. Let's see. There was a thing called, I don't remember this, the Power Balance, the rubber wristbands that had a holographic sticker and something inside it says it helps improve your balance. A wristband that improves your balance. I don't remember that.
I remember the hologram sticker thing and the wristband, but I don't. We must have just been here for fleeting.
I had one idea. So you're a golfer, Zep. You remember when the copper bracelets became a big thing for golfers?
Oh, yeah.
Just a copper bracelet. You stick it on your wrist, and it increases blood flow or whatever the idea was.
I got one.
Yeah, did you? Did it
did
do anything?
Yeah, it turned my wrist green.
Well, that'll happen.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing that, and all these golfers were suddenly wearing those. And I combined two trends at the time in my mind, but I didn't follow through. So this was at the same time you'd see WWJD, what would Jesus do? And I was like, no. WWJD, what would Jack do? What would Jack, on your wristband, or what would Tiger do? You're wearing the wristband already. You look like it. You want the world to know, I'm a golfing dork.
Yeah.
But then put on there, WW, who's your favorite golfer? D, just put that on there. That would have helped. $1 million idea. Didn't follow through.
Oh,
just didn't. It's the first time I've ever shared that idea publicly. If you're listening and you have access to a copper bracelet company and a stencil thing, go for it. Let me know if it works.
Feel free to kick back a box to them. Steve should get a finder's fee on that anyway.
That's what I'm saying. Virtual reality hasn't really taken over the world. The Apple glasses,
they're kind of rolling that back now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think people got a little too freaked out by it. Like if we've talked about that, there are ideas that on airplanes in the future, you won't see little video screens, but they'll just have those goggle things you put on and you virtual reality yourself through a flight. That's just gonna get too weird, because you're gonna have 200 people having entirely different experiences simultaneously. It's only gonna take one of those people to be on mushrooms for the whole experiment to go sideways.
They're practically there with phones. But yeah, a good friend of Maria's, her 14-year-old son, just broke his leg, a compound fracture with his VR goggles.
That's what his VR goggles.
Yeah,
really?
He had the VR goggles on, and his buddy slammed into him, and he went tumbling and ended up freaking breaking his leg. I went, well, there's an argument for the good old PlayStation controllers, the Xbox controller, and becoming a couch potato.
Yeah.
You're not going to break your leg. But, I'm interested in it. It's we went out to the mall not the mall, which one is it? Ridgedale over there. They've got the sandbox where you do the VR thing, and my brother came up, and we all geeked out, and a bunch of us, Zepp's got in there and battled dragons, and then we shot up zombies. It's pretty wild.
It is kind of cool.
It is cool, but very expensive still.
Speaking of VR goggles, new theory from the workplace is that we tend to see our coworkers through what they're calling coffee goggles. Coffee goggles. If you get along really well with your coworkers, but there's the thing where they're saying, well, if you didn't work with somebody, would you still be friends with them if you just met them on the street? And then you're like, well, because you work together, because you spend more time with them, after a little while, it goes one of two ways. You think less or more of someone, the better you get to know them. And, beer goggles, we all know what beer goggles are. We've all worn them many times.
Yes.
We've all been with people who are wearing them. I mean, so much to the point, at least all of us, at least once, have looked at someone and you just want to go, I'm not that charming. Stop. You're drunk. My God. Get this girl a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But coffee goggles are apparently the kind of thing that just makes you look at your coworkers and think, man, they're starting to kind of grow on me. I'm pretty attracted to this person. Go figure.
Attractiveness?
It's attractiveness and just general, you just like them.
Well, I mean, if I don't have my cup of coffee in the morning, Mom's not even getting a good morning from me.
I need coffee.
California, University of California at Davis, coffee goggles make you think people are better than they actually are. They say that when people drink coffee before a conversation, it helps them focus and make them feel more positively about the people they're talking with. We all drink coffee before we come in, and it's like a veritable, I don't want to use the word orgy around here, but my God, we can't keep our hands off each other.
It's a love fest, yeah.
Jeez. Especially when Tony came back. It was like, oh, thank God.
I know, it's been
finally
too long.
Some new meat in the room. My coffee goggles are on 2010 vision, Tony. I'm seeing like a hawk.
I had my first coffee this morning since Tony has been back, and man, you guys are looking good.
Wait, hold on. You didn't have coffee yesterday?
No, I've been on this energy drink thing because all the coffee machine was locked in Tony's office.
No, my office was closed.
Bastard.
Yeah. By the way, just quick. Thank you for reminding me. Quick tip to anybody working an honest to God, job out there. If the coffee machine's in your office, don't get sick.
Yeah,
Come on.
They wouldn't let me make a key because it's a company key. I was going to get you guys keys.
Well, it wouldn't have occurred to any of us in an entire 1 month span of time to go anywhere, say Target, and buy a $7 coffee machine.
No, not a chance. We just badmouth Tony. I can't believe he's not here yet.
And then every day that phony text. So how you feeling? Like coming back to work soon? Gosh, we miss your presence with your key in your office and your coffee machine.
I guarantee you could look back and all of us individually and collectively texting Tony, letting him know we miss him and we love him. There's a direct correlation to if coffee was brought in or not for how often we texted Tony. It's completely channeling ourselves through caffeine intake. It's National Teacher Day for the final time. Happy thank you everything for teachers.
Yes.
Boy, there's even the bad ones. We remember them all. Certainly the impact on all of our lives from our teachers. So if you are a teacher, if you know a teacher, a high five to you or give someone a high five from us. Really, you just can't say enough about how important the job of teachers are for not just, a personal life. I mean, look at society. My God, we need our teachers.
Yes.
Got to take better care of all of our teachers.
Bravo.
Happy National Teacher Day. Let's look back. On this day, May 7th, 1995, the Minnesota Twins won a baseball game. They played Cleveland. They won 10-9. The game took 17 innings, 6 hours and 45 minutes.
Oof.
Okay, late September, you got to do what you got to do to finish the season. But a game in May that lasted that long, that's just hell on earth.
No, I'm going to clear out. I'll catch it at home.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, at some point, just tell the pitchers to throw with the other arm. Okay, you pitch lefty, you pitch righty. First ball out of the infield wins. My God. Another baseball note on this day in 2009, Manny Ramirez, the very eccentric Red Sox and then LA Dodger, hysterically funny, not intentionally baseball player, was suspended 50 games for violating the drug policy. He tested positive for HGC, which is two things, often used by players who are cycling off of steroids. More appropriately used by women as a fertility drug.
Well, hello.
Boy, you open one door with steroids and then you got to open a few more doors and every room gets weirder than the one before it.
Very much.
So he was also found to have a testosterone level abnormally high for someone not taking performance-enhancing drugs. So he was jacked with testosterone and a women's fertility drug. He was attempting, apparently, to be like the odd amphibian, able to impregnate himself.
A seahorse.
Manny Ramirez is pregnant, and it's his child.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.